Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all to the 3 days International One Mahotsav Forest Festival, Health, Well-being, Environment and Sustainable Development 2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns, India's G20 presidency, and also One Mahotsav, that is Forest Festival, which is commemorated every year from 1st to 7th July every year in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. So yesterday, day before yesterday, we have seen the importance of One Mahotsav and how it was initiated and the importance of protection, conservation of forests, which contributes to the protection and conservation of flora and fauna, and also biosystems, ecosystems, biodiversity systems, and food chains, and also overall planet health and well-being, including all the living and non-living beings on the planet. And it also helps us to counter the climate change. And we have seen yesterday how a forest can be grown using a multi-cropping system within whatever area is available. As forests are depleting, we have seen on the first day the statistics related to forest cover area, forest area, and total geographical area within the nation, and also compared to the entire planet, the forests of the world. So we have seen that forests are depleting day by day, and the green cover is depleting day by day. And also plants are becoming lesser and lesser day by day. That is creating a huge impact on the health and well-being of the planet and all the living beings on the planet. So it's a high time that we act upon and create forestry of different kinds. The very first thing is we should ensure that not even a single mm or a single centimeter or single inch of a forest is further destroyed. It has to be protected and regenerated, and whatever spaces we are occupying other than forest, we need to develop greenery, we need to plant more trees, and wherever possible, in whatever way possible, we have to ensure that green cover has to be maintained. And we also have seen in detail about the various steps of growing a forest in our communities or in our backyards or in whatever space available within us. We can grow a forest with as minimum as 1 square meter to 1 square kilometer or 100 square or unlimited area. So as little as 1 square meter, we can start developing the forest. As yesterday we have seen 4 types of plants, from grass to canopy trees. These 4 levels helps to create a dense forest where even human beings or animals cannot enter into the forest. So such a dense forest, such a rich biodiversity rich forest. And as we have already seen from past 2 days, no maintenance is the best maintenance for the forest. So, we are seeing our human intervention is creating a havoc disaster on the planet. So if we stop intervening, that's what even COVID-19 has also showed. If human beings doesn't mind their own business and doesn't bother others, the nature, the environment, nature will automatically regenerate itself. So that is the principle behind, because whatever practices, whatever intervention we are doing is completely disastrous, destruction, and that is causing disasters and damage to the nature and the environment. So no matter how much we have developed, but we are still on the path of destruction. We never understood the basic principles with this modern education, what is being taught. So we lost our ancient rich cultures and traditions, where we have these So our humans are best left unintervened in the nature and environment. This has proved time and again that our intervention has created and are creating disasters, not only for us, but for the planet. The climate change, the rising temperatures, the rising sea levels, the rising greenhouse emissions, and our food style, lifestyle, our food preferences, all these are contributing to the disasters, which are human-made disasters. And it has become a global threat for the existing species and also to the planet. So what is that we can do now? Now, whatever spaces we have occupied, we have encroached into the forest spaces. If possible, we can give it back to the forests. If that is not possible, animal population, plant population is decreasing, but human population is increasing. So that itself says that there will be a huge gap of resources. We know all the natural resources are limited in nature. All the resources, whether it is artificial or natural, are limited. But we are using as if they are unlimited, as if they are abundant. Plastic, see, we are using plastic in such a way as it has become more affordable. We use carry bags, especially. We dispose like anything. Now masks, see, the biomedical hazard or biomedical waste. We are using mask and throw it away and disposing. We are using these sanitary pads, diapers, and various other things. Now it is very cheaper. You use it, throw it, use it, throw it. But where it is going, all the waste that is generated is polluting the planet. But we are not conscious. Okay, fine, you are using, but what is happening to the waste? We are not bothered about it. That is what we have created, and our karma, where we have created so much waste and we have utilized, abused, overused, misused the natural resources. Today, we are paying for it. Our karma is hitting back. And today, species are becoming extinct. Trees, plants are becoming extinct. So what will happen? Tomorrow, we will destroy our all food chains. We have just 20% of the forest left on the earth. Or even in India, we have seen yesterday 22% of the forest only left, instead of having 75%. So already more than 55% forest is lost in last 2-3 centuries. Just 2-3 centuries of this modern science have evolved. And imagine in next 2050, by 2050 or maximum by 2100, the existing forest, the existing species, many of them will disappear. So that's where humans will not have anything. They cannot eat chips. They cannot eat computers, mobiles. They cannot eat concrete. No, they will not have anything to eat. Those trees are going, plants and animals are. Human beings have not left animals. Because of that, we are seeing continuously pandemics are coming. Ebola virus, swine flu, and whatnot. Even recent COVID is also because of zoonotic diseases. We are consuming animals especially wild animals. And with that, we are getting diseases. The virus is getting spread from animals to humans. In spite of that, we did not learn anything. Today, we are craving for meat, as if you will not survive without consuming meat. Meat is completely optional. There is a huge myth associated with meat that if you don't eat meat, you will become malnutritious. But there is no scientific evidence for that. We have seen a lot of people across the world who are consuming meat are highly malnutritious, undernutritious, or overnutritious compared to those who never eat meat, those who are vegans. So it is very well known, it is very clear that it is the greatest myth, and it's only the propaganda of the media and the business houses that if you eat meat and meat products, then only you will be healthy, because they want their business to run. So that is what today things are happening. Because in the circular economy, we are always interested in doing more business, building more economy. We are not bothered about natural resources. We are not bothered about the planet. That attitude today has created a lot of crisis. And today we are not only we, but our future generations, we have put our entire future of our future generations and upcoming generations into threat. We have gone to such an extent that entire human civilization is going to become extinct. What you will eat after everything is destroyed, how you will survive? You have to eat other human beings. That is what cannibalism. Humans will start eating other humans, and how long you will survive? By eating. Even soon the 800 billion population will start eating. Just imagine daily how much you can eat, and within how many days the entire population will be eaten. Say one person is eating other person. Just imagine how rapidly the population will disappear. Are we aware of that? Are we conscious about that? We need to think all these things. It's not that today no science and technology will help us. Only the ancient traditional systems and ancient knowledge system, traditional knowledge system is only going to help us, because the science is still in infancy stage, and we have destroyed using that science and used in inappropriate ways and destroying the planet beyond the restoration. So the same approach, the same science and technology which has been used to destroy the planet cannot be used to restore. Unless and until we learn the lesson, our maturity allows, we mature to that level that the same science and technology, the same modern education which has destroyed the planet, which is destroying the planet, cannot revive the planet, cannot restore the planet. That is where we have to move to our own traditional knowledge systems, ancient knowledge systems, and we need to restore back our planet to our Earth, our previous status. Now, just 3 centuries, we were not able to manage the planet, and planet has been happily surviving from millions and billions of years. How that was possible? Because humans did not intervene. Because of the greatest concepts of Sanatana Dharma, because of Hinduism that has prevailed, has protected all the non-living beings and living beings on the planet, because they imbibed divinity into each and every aspect. where rivers are protected, worship, where mountains, forests are protected, worship, and even animals are worshipped and protected. So in everything, we have divinity imbibed. If you see various Hindu gods, every god has one tree associated with it, one plant associated, and one animal associated. So that is a great culture, our rich culture. Today, we have become fools of our modern education, byproducts of which has generated so much fools and idiots out of these modern education factories, where we lack basic common sense, where we are not able to realize and understand where we are leading to. We are lacking common sense, that we are not able to realize where we are, what we are doing, no matter how much you accumulate. You may be the richest in the world, but you cannot survive once the planet is destroyed, once there is no drinking water. Will that solve your problem? Only you being rich will not solve. You might be rich, filthy rich, but just imagine 800 population, you are the only richest person, and 800 population is struggling the water, and you have a water, you stored water also. But will that 800 billion people will keep quiet? They are in the survival mode. What will happen? If they all attack you, what will happen? You will be nowhere. So the filthy rich, or the so-called capitalists, also need to understand that your money, your wealth, your accumulation will not save you, no matter what you do. One storm, like here, the space is also full of space debris. We have polluted the space also. One storm in the space can create a havoc and destroy all the satellites. So are we strong enough to build again all the networks, all the satellites? Is it possible? Are we strong enough to combat the floods, desertation, or disasters? We have seen many times, not only floods, now flooding of cities has also become quite common. Just one good rain, an entire city is in water, most of the cities. Are we prepared? Disaster management is the norm, daily norm today. But these modern science will not give solutions, because they are the ones who created problems. And if you are searching for the solutions within the same science and technology, within the same procedure, you will end up creating more problems, more disasters. So we need to go back. It's a high time. We need to go back to our ancient knowledge systems, traditional knowledge systems, go back to our Vedas, Puranas, Itihasas, and see what our ancestors has done so that they preserved the nature environment intact in spite of having so much of population. They lived in harmony with the nature. But what we have done, we have behaved in such a way that we have acted in such a way that we have declared ourselves as superior and the sole owner of the planet, and we utilized, abused the natural resources and artificial resources. We deprived, abused other species of their rights, of their natural resources. We encroached into their habitats. That's why this animal-human conflict is increasing more and more. They are coming to our spaces because they lack food, they lack water, and how they will survive. So all these things, having looked upon, it is a high time that we, at least for our requirement, like every person, every human being, every human being consumes oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. So for you for everyone, we need to have a plant where it can consume the carbon dioxide left out by the humans, and the oxygen left out of the plants can be again consumed by us. So this is how we are dependent on the planet, on the trees, on the nature and the environment. We totally ignore this basic common sense is lacking among all the human beings. No one is exempted. Why? In the sense, other people, other beings are destroying, and the ones who are sitting quiet without not doing anything, they are also equally culprits because they are supporting them. They are not raising voice. They are not stopping it because everyone is affected. With the climate change, no one is left behind. Everyone is affected, no matter where you are on the planet. It is being affected. Now, who is responsible? Plants and animals cannot go and protect each other as long as the humans doesn't intervene. If humans stop intervening, they will follow because they are always a very disciplined and obedient followers of nature, laws of nature. We are the ones who violate laws of nature. Not only laws of nature, we are violating human rights and as well as the animal rights also. So we talk about, we have so many organizations, so many laws, so many constitutions, so many everything. But we are the ones who create and we are the ones who violate. So nature is the one who teaches us lesson, who punishes us. So we need to be conscious of that and we need to take action. What is the action? Immediate action is at least now start with having a plant or a tree which can compensate your disaster as you are leaving carbon dioxide to the environment, which is harmful, which is required by the plants. And as plants give oxygen, taking out carbon dioxide, so both are equally important. We need to understand that human beings are equally important as plants. You cannot live without a plant, without a tree. So this common sense, this basic knowledge, if we are aware, if this common consciousness is available with us, within us, so what we have to do? We have to grow plants. Now, every member in your family need to have sufficient amount of plants that can take and give you oxygen, that can take your carbon dioxide and that can give you back your oxygen. That is the simple thing we can do, and rest. With this simple step, we can create a lot of forest, lot of green cover, and slowly the things will start change. That is in our hands, right? You can buy one plant or we can get one sampling. If you are having your own nurseries, gardens, kindly give to your other neighbors and relatives, friends, a sapling so that they can also grow. They can also take care of it and maintain. And at the same time, you can also, if you are not able to get it, you can buy it. There are a lot of nurseries maintaining saplings. You can get it one and maintain. So every family member should ensure that the amount of carbon dioxide we are leaving, we need to have sufficient amount of plants or trees that can compensate our release of carbon dioxide and also meet the requirements of oxygen, which we intake. So today, basically, as already mentioned, these 3 days of Van Mahotsav is dedicated to the participants itself. So there were no sessions planned initially and even later also. Because, we all want to hear from everyone. What kind of initiatives? Maybe every house has a tulsi plant or some plant in your house, so that you can plant one more sapling and talk about it, how you are contributing. This is what the main purpose of creating this event online, so that irrespective of any barrier, we all can come together and share our thoughts and our plantation details. So that is basic purpose of which we have created this event. So before getting into the time sessions, we will first invite if anyone would like to talk about their plantation, whether it may be as part of the 1 week drive, as part of forest festival or one Mahotsav, or if you are already maintaining, that is also fine. If you have photo, video, you can share it and you can talk about it, what kind of plant it is, what is its age, and how it can contribute, in what way it is contributing. You can talk about it. If anyone is ready, you can raise your hand. We can allow you so that you can talk. Okay. So if there are, if no one is willing to share, or no one has planted anything as such, then we shall move on to, we'll take a few presentations and then conclude. So we have with us Virendra Kumar Thakurji. He is assistant professor, Computer Science Engineering, Govind Vallabh Pant Institute of Engineering and Technology from Uttarakhand. He is also a resource person for Uttarakhand RTA, resource person for Uttarakhand Information Commission, and he is also an advocate. So we welcome you, sir, for your presentation on Forest Conservation Act. You can start your audio, video, and presentation. Over to you for your session.
Yes, am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. My video is also on. I'm sharing my presentation. I hope my screen is visible, sir.
Yes, sir. You can continue.
So earlier in this series, I have covered many environmental laws like Environment Protection Act, Indian Forest Act of 1927. Compared to that, this is a very small act. So in these days of one Mahotsav, we shall see important provisions of this Forest Conservation Act 1980. It is a very small act of 5 sections, and 3 more sections were added. So there are only 8 sections. The previous act was made by British government, and that was called Indian Forest Act 1927. It is still in force. In addition to that, we also have this Forest Conservation Act 1980. Plus, there is also Wildlife Protection Act, that is a separate act that is related just to wildlife. So we shall see firstly what are the important provisions of this act, and then the actual legal provisions of this just 8 section act. So this is called Forest Conservation Act 1980. It was passed by Indira Gandhi government in her second tenure. So Forest Conservation Act 1980 is an important legislation in India aimed at conserving and protecting the country's forest resources. Forest resources, as we know, are dwindling day by day, and in some states it is much higher. But after the division of Uttar Pradesh into Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand got more forests, and Uttar Pradesh its forest percent is reduced. The act provides guidelines and procedures for the diversion of forest land for non-forest purposes. That is when we are changing the land use, that is from agriculture to non-agriculture, or what we call bringing, building concrete jungles. That is resulted into this deforestation. So here are some key provisions. Firstly, there should be a prior approval. So Act mandates that prior approval from central government is necessary for diverting forest land for any non-forest purposes such as industrial projects, mining, infrastructure development, or agricultural activities. So this is actually a subject in concurrent list, and therefore central and state government both have the powers to regulate the forest land. And even in India, we have got 3 all India services that include Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, and Indian Forest Service. So for changing the land use from non-forest to from forest to non-forest, this permission of central government is necessary even for the state government or any of the projects. Then prohibition on diversion. So the Act prohibits diversion of forest land unless it is deemed necessary for public interest and no other feasible alternatives available outside the forest area. That is only it must be done as a last alternative. Otherwise, the diversion of forest to non-forest should not be done. Then compensatory afforestation. That is whenever the deforestation is done, there should be comparable afforestation also. So if forest land is diverted, the Act requires compensatory afforestation to be undertaken. This means that an equivalent area of non-forest land needs to be afforested to compensate for the loss of forest land. Then net present value, NPV. So the Act introduced the concept of net present value, which requires payment of a specified amount of money as compensation for the ecological services provided by the forest being diverted. In India, there is also this Act of 2006 is passed, where the rights of scheduled tribes or the traditionally those who are dependent on the resources of the forest are protected. So amount is determined based on the location, type of forest, and the area being diverted. So this net present value concept is there, where we try to find out the liquefied amount of money, specified amount of money that is in liquid cash as compensation for the ecological services provided by the forest, so that we know economic value of the forest. Then there is provision of constitution of committees. So it establishes various committees at the central and state levels to review proposals for diversion, evaluate the compensatory afforestation plans, and monitor compliance with the provisions of the Act. So these committees have been constituted in India. Then the penalties and offences. There is just a small say provision in this. So Act stipulates penalties and offences for unauthorized diversion of forest land or non-compliance with the provisions of this Act. Penalties include fines and imprisonment depending on the severity of the violation. And then Environment Impact Assessment (EIA). Now, even Land Acquisition Act of 1894 has been changed to Land Acquisition Act of 2013, and in that also there is this environmental impact assessment that is done for say agricultural land to non-agriculture and like that. Here it is about forest land to non-forest purposes. So the Act requires preparation of an environmental impact assessment report for projects seeking diversion of forest land. This report evaluates the potential environmental and ecological impacts of the proposed project. So some of the and there are also tribal rights. There is separate act for that in 2006. So it recognizes rights of tribal and forest dwelling communities and specifies that their rights should be protected while diverting forest land. Their consent and participation in decision-making processes are essential. So as far as this Act of 1980 is concerned, it aims to strike a balance between development and environmental conservation by regulating diversion of forest land for non-forest purposes and promoting sustainable development practices. Now we see the actual provisions of this Act. As I told earlier, this is very small Act, just 5 sections, and 3 more sections have been added through amendment. So it is an Act to provide for conservation of forest and for matters connected therewith or ancillary or incidental thereto. So be it enacted by Parliament in the 31st year of the Republic of India as follows. This Act is called the Forest Conservation Act. It extends to the whole of India. Earlier, it did not extend to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, but now, after this amendment of 2019, it has been extended to Jammu and Kashmir also, and it came into force on the 25th day of October 1980. As I told, it was earlier, it was passed by the Indira Gandhi government in its second tenure after her comeback in 1980. So first, there is a restriction. Section 2 says, restriction on the dereservation of forest or use of forest land for non-forest purpose. That is, here we classify into forest and non-forest land. So notwithstanding anything contained in any other law for the time being in force in a state, there is overriding effect over the state law. No state government or other authority shall make, except with the prior approval of the state central government. That means since they are concurrent subject, so state government cannot say divert this forest land to non-forest purpose without concurrence of the state government or prior approval of the Ministry of Environment and Forests. Any order directing that any reserved forest within the meaning of the expression reserved forest in any law for the timing in force in that state or any portion thereof shall cease to be reserved. Secondly, that any forest land or any portion thereof may be used for any non-forest purpose. From Uttarakhand also some cases have gone to Supreme Court, say some before the formation of NGT National Green Tribunal and some after the formation of National Green Tribunal, and there have been even some shifting of say some establishments like State Engineers Academy from say Corbett National Park to say Roorkee, that is a non-forest land. So these types of orders have been passed by Supreme Court so that the forest land is protected. Even there are some restrictions on building roads through forests if it harms the forest. So third is that any forest land or any portion thereof may be assigned by way of lease or otherwise to any private person or to any authority, corporation, agency, or any other organization not owned, managed, or controlled by government. So the lease, etc., cannot be done for without concurrence of central government, and that any forest land or any portion thereof may be cleared of trees which have grown naturally in that land or portion for the purpose of using it for reforestation. So these are the 4 restrictions that are specified in section 2. There is explanation at the end of this that was amended in 1989. For the purposes of this section, non-forest purpose means the breaking up or clearing of any forest land or portion thereof for the cultivation of tea, coffee, spices, rubber, palms, oil-bearing plants, horticultural crops, or medicinal plants. So this is considered as non-forest purpose. Secondly, any purpose other than reforestation, but does not include anyone relating to or ancillary to conservation, development, and management of forest and wildlife, namely the establishment of checkposts, fire lines. These are fire lines are there to protect the forest from fire. That is, there are some so that the forest doesn't say speedily, and therefore these fire lines are say drawn out, especially wireless communications and construction of fencing, bridges and culverts, dams, water holes, trench marks, boundary marks, pipelines, or other like purposes. So only these purposes are allowed. Other purposes like cultivation of tea, coffee, spices, rubber palms, oil bearing plants, horticulture crops, or medicinal plants may not be say allowed by clearing the forest land. Now the appeal to National Green Tribunal. So NGT was established in India in 2010. So an amendment was also made in this forest conservation, that is for establishing the jurisdiction of NGT over the disputes arising related to this act. So any person aggrieved by an order or decision of the state government or other authority made under Section 2 on or after the commencement of the NGT Act 2010 may file an appeal to the National Green Tribunal established under Section 3 of the NGT Act 2010 in accordance with the provisions of that Act. So NGT looks after many environmental laws in India. Earlier, in one of my previous presentations, I have covered the provisions of this NGT Act 2010. It also takes care of all the disputes arising out of this Forest Conservation Act 1990. Now the advisory committee. So central government may constitute a committee consisting of such number of persons as it may deem fit to advise that government with regard to the grant of approval under Section 2, that is, what is forest use and what is non-forest use. Any other matter connected with the conservation of forest may be referred to it by the central government. So these committees are advisory committees are constituted. Now we come to the penal provisions. So whoever contravenes or abets the contravention or any of the provisions of Section 2 shall be punishable with simple imprisonment for a period which may extend to 15 days. So there is a small punishment, just 15 days, but that provision was made in the year 1988 through an amendment. Then there is Section 3B, that is offences by authorities and government departments. So where any offence under this Act has been committed by any department or government, the head of the department or by any authority, every person who at the time the offence was committed was directly in charge of and was responsible to the authority for the conduct of the business of the authority as well as the authority shall be deemed to be guilty of the offence and shall be liable to be prosecuted against and punished accordingly. So authorities and government departments can also be prosecuted, provided that nothing contained in this subsection shall render the head of the department or any other person referred to in clause B liable to any punishment if it proves that the offence was committed without the knowledge, without his knowledge, or that he exercised all due diligence to prevent the commission of such offence. So this is a proviso to that provision. Then exception to that proviso. Then notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1, where an offence punishable under the Act has been committed by department of government or any authority referred to in clause B of subsection 1 and is proved that the offence has been committed with the consent or connivance of or is attributable to any neglect on the part of or any officer other than the head of the department, or in the case of an authority, any person other than the persons referred to in clause B of subsection 1, such officer or person shall also be deemed to be guilty of that offence and shall be liable to be prosecuted against and punished accordingly. That means there could be maximum punishment of 15 days under this Act. Now the power to make rules. So central government may by notification in the central government make rules for carrying out the provisions of this Act, and every rule made under this Act shall be laid as soon as may be after it is made before each House of Parliament while it is in session for a total period of 30 days, which may be comprised in one session or in 2 or more successive sessions. And before the expiry of the session, immediately following the session of the successive sessions aforesaid, both houses agree in making any modification in the rule, or both houses agree that the rule should not be made. The rule shall thereafter have effect only in such modified form or be of no effect as the case may be. So, however, that any such modification or annulment shall be without prejudice to the validity of anything previously done under that rule. So, rules can be made subject to approval of the say Parliament, and the government may approve, modify, or disapprove. But whatever action has been taken under that shall be effective, just like the powers of the ordinance making power of the say president or the governor. So only the central government has been given this power. The state government does not have any powers to make rules under this Act. And the last section is the Forest Conservation Ordinance 1980 is hereby repealed. So earlier that ordinance was there, and then when the Parliament passed this, that ordinance was repealed. And notwithstanding such repeal, anything done or any action taken under the provisions of the said ordinance shall be deemed to have been done or taken under the corresponding provisions of this Act. So whatever action has been taken earlier under the force of the say ordinance of the president or governor, in this case it was ordinance of the president. So that action shall be permanent regardless of the passing of this at modified form. So that is the last section. So we stop here. This is a very small act compared to the Forest Act. So this is related to conservation and mainly the diversion from the forest to the non-forest purpose. So if there are any questions on this, I'll be glad to answer them. Any questions?
Participants, if you have any queries, you can raise your hand. Or if you want to share your feedback also, any comments, suggestions, feel free to share in chat box or raise your hand so that we can unmute yourself. Or you can unmute yourself. I think there are no queries.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Ravindra, for giving me this opportunity. And thanks to Shri Holistic Health Foundation of India and Shri Research Institute and Center for Arts, Science and Well-being for giving me this opportunity to make this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. If time permits and if you have any ready resource available, can you talk a little bit about Green Tribunal and how to approach, because there might be many environment activities. How to approach and how to file a complaint.
Well, regarding Green Tribunal, I'll just give a brief introduction to what I had presented earlier. I will not go into all the detailed presentation, but the main important provisions of this NGT Act, because this National Green Tribunal have been formed in India.
Generally, this RTA and this Green Tribunal are very handy, especially when certain violations are happening.
Yes, yes.
Or you can give practically, you can talk about how to, if someone observes something which is violating or which is a concern, how do they go about filing an RTA and approaching the Green Tribunal for a remedy or for a...
Well, Green Tribunals have the original jurisdiction as far as the environmental laws are concerned. Earlier in India, we did not have any such a dedicated, there were, say, acts of 1995 and 1997, that is, there were tribunals as well as the, say, appellate authority for this. But now these both have been repealed following the establishment of this Green Tribunal. And under this National Green Tribunal, now even all the cases that were pending, mostly in the forms of PIL, pending before the High Court and the Supreme Court. So these were, say, transferred to the, say, an NGT after formation of it. So I'll just share my screen so that I will just state some of the important provisions of this. So this act was passed in 2010, and there are all the environmental laws that are implemented by the NGT after its formation. So this NGT implements many acts that are mentioned in its schedule, and I'll just go directly to the end of this. The schedule prescribes some of these, say, provisions. What are the different acts that are there? So NGT implements all the environmental laws in India. Firstly, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. This is one of the important acts and very important environmental law in India. Before this, there was only Indian Penal Code, but that punished only the say pollution of water or say mixing poison in water sources, etc. So only penal provisions were there. But as far as the prevention and control of pollution is there, so this is very wide law. Then came Water Prevention and Control of Pollution CS Act 1977, so that the industries can be taxed, those polluting industries which are say through which the water or the say contaminants flow into the water sources. Then there is of course Forest Conservation Act 1980. Then the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. Air pollution also includes noise pollution. So noise pollution is also taken care of with this Air Pollution Act of 1981. Then after the Bhopal gas tragedy, this Environment Protection Act 1986 was passed. So that is also implemented by the NGT. And then the Public Liability Insurance Act of 1991. So wherever the dangerous say things are transported, and because of, like say gas cylinders or other things, and because of that there are some fires or some accidents, so there is public liability insurance that is there. So earlier this was covered only through the law of torts, but now there is also codified law in India, and the Biological Diversity Act 2002 that looks after the preserving the biodiversity. So these are the acts which are say enforced by the National Green Tribunal that are mentioned in the Schedule 1 of this NGT. Then heads under which compensation or relief for damage may be claimed. So while making a prayer, see there are not only penal provisions but also the civil say compensation can be claimed without going to the ordinary civil courts if there is some loss or damage because of the say environmental pollution. So firstly, if there is a death or if there is permanent, temporary, total or partial disability or other injury or sickness, or loss of wages due to total or partial disability or permanent or temporary disability, medical expenses incurred for treatment of injuries or sickness, damages to private property, expenses incurred by the government or any other local authority in providing relief, aid, and rehabilitation to the affected persons, and expenses incurred by the government for any administrative or legal action or to cope with any harm or damage, including compensation for environmental degradation and restoration of the say quality of environment. So these are the 7 heads. So while making a prayer to the national say petition to the National Green Tribunal, they have the original jurisdiction if these injuries are due to say environmental degradation or due to loss of environment. So in such cases, in these 7 cases, the compensation can be claimed, and the NGT has the powers to award compensation also. So there is not only criminal punishment for offences, but there is also civil compensation that is awarded to the victims of environment pollution. Then loss to the government or local authority arising out of or connected with the activity causing any damage, claims on account of any harm, damage, or destruction to the fauna, including milch and drought animals and aquatic fauna, and claims on account of any harm, damage, or destruction to flora, including aquatic flora, crops, vegetables, trees, and orchids, and claims including cost of restoration on account of any harm or damage to environment, including pollution of soil, air, water, and ecosystems, and loss and destruction of any property other than private property, and loss of business or employment or both, and any other claim arising out of or connected with any activity of handling of hazardous substance. In India, we have separate acts for hazardous substances act as well as for explosive substances and their transportation. But even now the environment, this NGT has been given the powers to award compensation for any such say losses arising. So this is a major change after 2010 passing of this act. Then under Schedule 3, this act has been extended to the earlier acts that were already there, that is to the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act. So new sections have been inserted so that the appeal can be made to the National Green Tribunal. Even in Water Prevention and Control of Pollution CS Act, the amendment has been made, and the jurisdiction of NGT has been extended to that act also. Then amendment to the Forest Conservation Act, we have already seen this just now. Section 2A has been added to that, so the appeal can be made to the NGT. Then amendment to the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act. So for that there is NGT, and NGT appeal can be made to that, and for that section 31B has been added in 2010. Then amendment to the Environment Protection Act 1986 EPA that was passed after Bhopal gas tragedy of 1984. So even under that act, appeal can be made to the NGT. And then amendment to the Biological Diversity Act 2002. This was implemented since 2003, and in that also say this has been added that NGT jurisdiction has been extended to say loss of all the disputes arising out of this Biological Diversity Act 2002. So for that, a special say appellate powers have been given to NGT. So these are some of the important provisions. And earlier, before that, these two acts were there. They were repealed. That is the appellate authority. That is these two different acts were there. That is National Environment Tribunal Act 1995 and National Environment Appellate Authority Act 1997. So both these have been say repealed, and this entity that looks after the cases as well as the appeal. So it is given appellate powers also. It also has the powers of original civil court as far as the environmental issues are concerned. So for that, this National Green Tribunal has been formed. And about this, of course, the appeal can be then made to the say Supreme Court. So this is the jurisdiction of the NGT as far as environmental laws are concerned. Any other questions, sir?
Thank you, sir.
This is the structure of this NGT Act. Chapter 1 is preliminary. There are some important definitions. There is chapter 2, that is the establishment of the tribunal. So that talks about the NGT. There are judicial and expert members. There are appointment of chairperson, judicial members, and expert members. Then there is the staff of tribunal. Chapter 3 is about jurisdiction, powers, and proceedings of the tribunal. There is relief, compensation, and restitution. These are the powers. There is also appellate jurisdiction under section 16. Section 18 speaks about how to write an application or appeal to the tribunal. So these contents are given in section 18. The procedure and powers of tribunal are specified in section 19. Tribunal to apply certain principles while deciding the dispute, and decision to be taken by majority. And appeal, there is appeal that directly goes to the Supreme Court rather than High Court. So as far as environmental issues are concerned, so after the NGT matter goes to the Supreme Court, the even Supreme Court had transferred some of the existing cases to NGT after this act was passed in 2010. There is power to award cost of the case. Chapter 4 is about penalty. So there are if there is penalty for failure to comply with orders of tribunal. So there are penal clauses. Chapter 5 is miscellaneous. So it has got original jurisdiction, and these cases cannot go to the ordinary civil court. So these are the special courts having original established for the So this is the structure, overall structure of the National Green Tribunal Act. Any more questions, sir?
As of now, there are no queries. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to all the participants.
Hope the presentation is clear and that there are no further queries. We have few appreciation messages. So thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time and making presentation. We wish you all the success and look forward for more sessions in the future.
Thank you, sir.
Dear friends, we request you to quickly fill up the feedback form for the session. Then we'll move on to the next session. Kindly stay back after filling up the feedback form. We'll be sharing the overall feedback form at the end of all sessions, which is mandatory for the certification process. The feedback has been raised in the form of polls. You can see feedback for session 1. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form. You have 5 minutes for each feedback form after each session.
This does not seem to be the correct form. We will give the poll results rather than now the formula.
You can access the feedback form from the polls quizzes menu. The Zoom icons, you have menu options at the bottom. You can see polls quizzes. Once you click on that, you can see active polls. Or you can also update your clients. If you are using a web browser, you can use the Zoom app instead of that, because on web browser, you will have limited functionality. You might face certain issues. Or even if you are using an older versions, you might have certain issues in accessing all the features of Zoom. In spite of all these things, if you are still facing, you can immediately log out and log in so that you can immediately see the form and respond.
भोजन की बात आती है ना जब, तभी खेती की बात शुरू हो जाती है। हमारे संसार में ना गड़बड़ी यही हो गई कि हम भोजन को अलग देखते हैं और खेती को अलग देखते हैं। भोजन माने सॉल्यूशन, खेती माने समस्या। खेती प्रायोरिटी नहीं है तो भोजन भी प्रायोरिटी नहीं हो पाएगा, हेल्थ भी प्रायोरिटी नहीं है। तो हमने जो यहाँ पर करा है ना, जो तरीके हमने अपनाए हैं, उसमें हम कृषि, धरती, जल और वायु, ये 3 से हम प्रभावित हैं और ये तीनों हमसे प्रभावित। तो हमने जो यहाँ पर जो विधि अपनाया उसको बोलते हैं पर्माकल्चर, परमानेंट कल्चर बोलते हैं। रेन वाटर को हार्वेस्ट करके करने का, धरती पर ज्यादा मशीनरी नहीं चलाने का, सीजन के हिसाब से उगाने का, एक साथ 1000 चीजें उगाने का, ये 4-5 चीजें बस इतना ही किया और उसका रिजल्ट आ गया 3-4 महीने में। तो पर्माकल्चर जो बोलता है ना, ये मुझे लगता है ये आज की जरूरत इसलिए है क्योंकि ये हवा, पानी और धरती, इन तीनों के स्वास्थ्य को ध्यान में रखते हुए ही काम करता है। यही एक सबसे बड़ी खासियत है इसकी, मुझे अच्छा इसलिए लगा। और हम दिखाएंगे आपको, ये पूरा जो जगह है, ये पूरा का पूरा एक पहाड़ है। आप घूमेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा, 4-6 इंच के बाद यहाँ कुछ नहीं है, पत्थर है, स्लोप है, यहाँ ढाल है, 40 डिग्री की ढाल है, लेकिन ग्रीनरी यहाँ अब हमको जंगल इतना हो गया कि काटना पड़ता है। कैसे हो गया? आज तक एक ट्रैक्टर नहीं चलाया यहाँ पर, ब्रह्म राक्षस। अब आप प्रश्न पूछोगे कि इतना सब तो थ्योरी तो बहुत समझ गया, हाँ करना चाहिए, करते कैसे हैं भाई, करते कैसे? मैं बोलता हूँ इट्स नॉट ए रॉकेट साइंस। आप ऐसा मत समझना कि बड़ा कोई जटिल चीज है। पानी को जमीन में जाने दो, उसको आजकल लोग अंग्रेजी में रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग बोलते हैं। हमारे यहाँ भारत के हर गांव में, ईरान से लेके श्रीलंका तक आप देखो, हर एक गांव में वास्तु के हिसाब से एक तालाब मिलेगा। और वहां से देखिए 5 मीटर दूर, मैं दिखा रहा हूं आपको, ये देखिए पहाड़ है, ये पूरा का पूरा ये पत्थर है। और इस जमीन में थोड़ा सा नीचे आप अगर जाएं तो 4 से 6 इंच के बाद यहाँ पर अब इसके नीचे नहीं जा सकते। तो कुल मिला के इतना ही है। और ये हरियाली इसमें इसीलिए आ गई क्योंकि हम इसके अंदर पानी बह रहा है हमारा बारिश का, वो पानी इसमें कैसे जा रहा है हम दिखाते हैं आप। और यहाँ पर कहीं भी हाथ दो तो क्या निकलता है? पत्थर ही निकलते हैं। ये देखो सब पत्थर है। तो अब क्या करना है? पानी को बचाइए, कुएं खोदिए, बारिश के पानी का पॉन्ड बनाइए, 1-2 साल बस, उसके बाद आपका वो अस्थायी हो, चिरंजीवी हो जाएगा वो, मतलब हमेशा जीवित रहेगा। अभी हमारा आगे का है, यहाँ 100-200 मीटर आगे बोरवेल है, वो 10-12 साल से सूखा था। अभी 4 साल इस धरती पर पानी अंदर गया 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 तो बोरवेल रिचार्ज हो गया। पानी को धरती में जाने देने का 3 रूल है। पहले धीमा करिए, फैलाइए, फिर डुबाइए। जो स्पीड में पानी जाता है वो ऊपर ऊपर निकल जाता है, वही भूमि का ऊपरी सतह जो सबसे ज्यादा उपजाऊ उसको लेके जाता है। जब पानी स्लो होगा तो वो फैलेगा, छोटे छोटे लाइंस में भी जाएगा, और जब जाएगा स्लो में होगा तो धरती उसको इनवाइट करती है, और हर अगली बार वो काम और ज्यादा होगा और ज्यादा होगा और ज्यादा होगा, तभी धरती में पानी जाता है तो ये जंगल दिखता है। तो अगर यहाँ जब घूमेंगे ना थोड़ा तो आपको पता चलेगा, आप देखेंगे, दिखाऊंगा आपको कैसे हमने नाले बनाए और किस तरीके से बनाया कि ये पहाड़ पर पानी जब आता है ना, बारिश का पानी तो ऐसे जाता है, मल्टी डायमेंशनल बोलते हैं, बहुरैखिक दिशा में जाता है, ये हर जगह जाता है। लेकिन हमने नाले इस होशियारी से बनाया कि बस वो जाएगा तो पानी नाले में ही जाएगा। तो पानी जब ऊपर से आएगा तो नाले में जाते जाते उसकी स्पीड मर जाएगी, वो फैला हुआ आता है, फिर स्लो हो जाता है, फिर सिंक होता है, माने इसमें डूबता है। 3 फीट गहरा है ये नाला, और जो मिट्टी इससे निकली वो ढाल की तरफ डाला हमने। तब ऐसे ऐसे 12 नाले हमने बनाए, हम आपको और दिखाते हैं, आइए। और ये जितनी भी हरियाली दिख रही है आपको, जंगल लग रहा हो या कुछ फसल दिख रही हो, घास दिख रहा हो, वो सब कुछ 2013 अक्टूबर के बाद से ही आया है। 5वां साल जा रहा है, 5वीं बारिश से होने वाली है। और अब अगर यहाँ पर 3-4 घंटे लगातार अगर जोर की बारिश हो जाए तो ये नाला भर जाता है और 1 महीने तक भरा रहता है। पिछली बारिश में 20 से 22 दिन तक भरा रहा। माने क्या, अब इसके अंदर और पानी जाने का जगह नहीं है। तो ये है रिजल्ट। 4 साल में आया, 4 साल का पेशेंस, तो पत्थरों पे पानी आ गया। मिट्टी जो है ना वो सेंटर्ड चीज है। इस ग्रेविटेशन जो शब्द है, गुरुत्वाकर्षण, वो जमीन को ही इंगित करता है। लिविंग सॉइल बोलते हैं अंग्रेजी में इसको। इसमें कहते हैं 1 मुट्ठी मिट्टी में इतने जीवाणु कीटाणु हैं जितना इस धरती पर इंसान नहीं है। इतने जीवाणु कीटाणु हैं जो इस मिट्टी को उपजाऊ मिट्टी बना के रखे हैं। तो इसको जब हम प्रेस करते हैं, ज्यादा जब इसको दबाव देंगे तो अंदर के सब मर जाते हैं, और जैसे इनके सारे जीवाणु कीटाणु मरते हैं ये मिट्टी धूल हो जाती है। खेत में जलाना कुछ नहीं। आप देखो ईंट कैसे बनता है, मिट्टी को प्रोसेस करके उसमें जब मिट्टी को जलाते हैं तो ईंट बन जाता है। और ईंट में कुछ पानी, खाद कुछ डालोगे तो कुछ उगेगा क्या? नहीं उगेगा ना। तो हर साल जो आप गेहूं काट लिया, कपास काट लिया, जो भी हुआ वो करके आग लगाते हैं तो धरती का कुछ लेयर 2-4 mm, थोड़ा सा 1 इंच 2 इंच हर साल में 3 बार जलता है। और आप क्या करते हैं, जला के पानी छोड़ देते हैं। आपको लगता है वो राख पोटाश बन गया, अमृत हो गई। अब फिर पीछे से ट्रैक्टर चलते, जो जला हुआ था उसको पलट दिया, अब फिर उसमें उगाएंगे, फिर उसको जलाएंगे। तो 2-4 बार पलट के आग लगाया ना, तो जान लो आपका 1 फीट का मिट्टी ईंट बन गया है। खाली ट्रैक्टर चलता है, उसको रौंद के रखा, नहीं तो ईंट हो ही गया होता। अब उस ईंट में आप लगे हैं यूरिया और पेस्टिसाइड लेके कुछ उगा लें आप। दूसरा, एक साथ सीजनल और लोकल बहुत सारी चीजें लगाइए खेत में। और जैसे बीज डालने की बात आती है तो किसान बोलते हैं कीड़े लगते हैं, उसका क्या करें? स्वास्थ्य की बात करो ना, बीमारी की बात बाद में कर लेंगे। और आपको बीमारी से उतना ही डर लगता है तो आप देखना, पहले गेंदे लगाते थे, गेंदा जो है वो गुरु का काम करता है। माने क्या, गुरु क्या करते हैं, सारे कष्ट अपने ऊपर ले लेते हैं और भक्त सुखी रहे। गेंदा वही करता है, सारे कीड़ों को अपने ऊपर आकर्षित कर लेता है, उसको पेस्ट अट्रैक्टर बोलते हैं। तो गेंदा डालिए तो क्या होगा, कीड़े जो गेहूं या गोभी में आने वाले थे उस पर जाएंगे 80%, 90%। देखिए गेंदा है ये, बोला नहीं यहाँ बाउंड्रीज पे गेंदा, गेंदा ने कितना जगह पकड़ा है हमारा, आधे इंच से भी कम का जगह लिया इसने। ये फैलेगा, जितना फैलेगा आजू बाजू के कीड़े इसके ऊपर आएंगे। फिर तुलसी लगाइए खेतों में, प्याज लगाइए, लहसुन लगाइए। प्याज और लहसुन इतना सा जगह लेता है। कभी प्याज के पत्ते और लहसुन के पत्ते में कीड़े लगे देखे क्या आपने? कोई भी कीड़ा नहीं। क्यों? उसका स्मेल ऐसा होता है कि कीड़े भाग जाते हैं। ये आपको पता है, करेंगे नहीं, बस ये गड़बड़ी है। तुलसी जी के पौधे में कीड़ा नहीं देखा हो, क्यों? 24 घंटे तुलसी माता ऑक्सीजन देती, इसीलिए उनकी पूजा हम इसीलिए करते हैं। तो तुलसी, प्याज, लहसुन, एक चाइव्स करके आता है, वो लहसुन का स्मेल देता है। उसमें जड़ में कुछ नहीं आता, पत्तों में स्मेल होता है लहसुन का। एलोवेरा, घृत कुमारी डाल बोलते हैं उसको, वो डालिए। घृत कुमारी नाम कितना बढ़िया है, अमृत है वो, उसको डालिए। उसमें भी ऑक्सीजन बहुत होता है। हमें सब डाल के देखा, मैं कोई सुनी सुनाई बात नहीं कह रहा, ये ऐसा हमने किया है। और आप हमारे खेत घूमते हैं अगर, तो आपको पता होगा कितने जगह आपको कीड़े मिलेंगे। और अगर कहीं कीड़े हैं तो जान लो ये धरती कभी भी कीड़ों से विहीन नहीं थी। राम पैदा हुए उसके पहले रावण मौजूद था। आपके खेत में 80% फसल सेफ रह जाए तो मुझे लगता है आपकी कमाई हो गई। अब दूसरा देखिए, हमने अदरक लगाया बाजू में। अब ये कहां से अदरक निकल रहा है? ये कंबाइंड फैमिली की जो मैंने बात करी वो देखो वही है, ज्वाइंट फैमिली। ये पोई का साग, ये करंज का पौधा, ये अदरक, ये देखो इनके बीच से ये 1 इंच की जगह नहीं है, यहाँ से 3 अदरक के पौधे आ रहे हैं। इसका मतलब क्या, इसके नीचे स्पेस है, जगह है, जड़ नीचे नहीं गया है, सब बाजू में फैले। देखो छोटे से छोटा जड़ भी ये बाजू में जा रहा है। ये कड़ी पत्ता का पौधा, पपीता लगा, ये पपीता है अभी लगाया हमने। ये गोंगूरा है, आंध्रा के लोग बड़ा पसंद करते हैं। ऐसे तरह से मिला जुला के लगाते हैं, एक साथ बहुत सारे फसल लगाइए। लाइफ ग्रोज व्हेन यू टेक केयर ऑफ द अर्थ। तो एक साथ बहुत सारा चीज आपके पास होगा, और जो उगाते हैं उसका बीज बनाइए। तो 12 एलिमेंट्स बोलते हैं पर्माकल्चर के होते हैं, है ना। उसमें यही सारा चीज है, जो भी चीज हमने बोला वही बोलता है। अपना खाद खुद बनाओ, अपनी पानी खुद बनाओ, अपना बीज खुद बनाओ, कुछ भी वेस्ट नहीं होने दो, आग नहीं लगाना। और लोग कोई सलाह देने आता है ना तो वो जरूर मानना। तो इतना सस्टेन्ड हमारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर था, बस उसी को अंग्रेजी में बोलते हैं और ऐसे स्प्रेड करते हैं। सब जीता है जंगल में, जैसे छोटा पौधा भी सुखी है, एक गिरगिट भी, छिपकली भी रह रहा है, और एक शेर भी रह रहा है, कोई बीमार नहीं हुआ। बड़े पेड़ भी सुखी है, छोटे पौधा भी सुखी है। ये समाज की संरचना होनी चाहिए। यह इस जगह पे ना हम आपको और अच्छे से समझा पाएंगे। देखो आम का पौधा है, इसकी छाया यहाँ तक आ रही है ना। अब इसके अंदर में ये जगह जनरली किसी बड़े पेड़ के नीचे की जो जगह होती है, गिल्ड बोलते हैं उसको अंग्रेजी में, वो बर्बाद ही जाता है, कुछ नहीं होता। और इस जगह पे देखिए अदरक हमने लगाया है। ऐसा हमारा खेत होना चाहिए कि अब लेयर फार्मिंग बोल रहे हैं आजकल, मल्टी लेयर फार्मिंग बोलते हैं। माने क्या, बड़ा पेड़ लगाया, फ्री साइड का लगाया, फ्री साइड का लगाया, फिर नीचे क्रीपर लगा दिया। खेत की चीज खेत में ही सड़ जाए। फसल का हार्वेस्ट हो गया, जो भी उससे बेल निकलनी थी, फल निकलना था, अनाज निकल गया, जो पौधा बच गया उसको काट के वहीं छोड़ दीजिए, वो सड़ जाता है। उसका अपना प्रकृति है, वो 2-3 महीने में 108 दिन में खेत का हर फसल का जो रेसिड्यू है, जो भी पुआल है, जो भी है, 108 दिन में सड़ जाता है। और यहाँ पर है क्या, ये देखो घास जिसमें आग लगती है, यही जब सड़ा तो मिट्टी बना, और ये मिट्टी एकदम ठंडा, अगले 10 दिन तक ये ठंडा रहने वाला है। क्यों? क्योंकि ये जब इसके ऊपर कंबल और रजाई की तरह हमने जब ढक दिया तो धूप है वो मिट्टी में डायरेक्ट नहीं लगता, और जो धूप डायरेक्ट नहीं लगता तो पानी जो है वो ज्यादा दिन तक इसमें रह पाता है। और हमारे पौधों को पानी नहीं चाहिए होता है, मॉइस्चर चाहिए होता है, ठंडक चाहिए होती है, ठंडक। आपको पानी देना है तो आराम से दीजिए पानी, जो मैं बता रहा था ना कि पहले उसको धीरे करिए, फैलाइए, नीचे जाने दीजिए। तो इसको जब ढक के रखते हैं ना तो पानी 1 दिन का दिया हुआ पानी 10 दिन टिकता है। और जब इसके ऊपर से पानी पड़ेगा, कभी इसके ऊपर गोबर का घोल जाएगा तो ये ऑटोमेटिक सड़ जाता है। इसका लाइफ है 108 दिन। 10 दिन पानी नहीं दूं, बारिश नहीं हो, फिर भी आप हाथ दोगे, हमारी मिट्टी आपको ठंडी मिलेगी। इसको ढक के रखते, इसीलिए ये सारे जो इसको मल्च आच्छादन बोलते हैं ना, ये ढक के रखो। ये इसका जब आपको यूज पता चल जाएगा कि इसके लाभ हैं, तो फिर इसमें आग नहीं लगी। हम आग इसलिए लगाते हैं कि हमको ये अनुपयोगी लगता है। हमारे लिए ये 1.5-2 महीने बाद हमको फिर डालना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि ये सड़ के खाद बन जाएगा। इसने इस धरती का 30% जो पौष्टिक तत्व है, पौष्टिक तत्व धरती से लिया होगा इसने, और जब इसको काट के वापस डालेंगे तो 30% जो कमी हुई थी धरती में, ये वापस पूरी हो जाएगी। तो इस तरह से हम इसकी पौष्टिकता को बरकरार रखते हैं। और आज जो हमको अमेरिकन यहाँ सिखा के क्या पर्माकल्चर बोलते हैं, चॉप एंड ड्रॉप। तुम्हारे एक भाई ने बोला तेरा तुझको अर्पण। अब देखिए, ये आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ से वहां तक ये सारे कचरे हैं हमारे। ये हमारा जंगली घास है, खेत से कटा है। इसके नीचे ये गोबर है, इसमें बीच में घास डाल दिया, ये सूखा डाल दिया। ऐसे ही एक के बाद एक लेयर बनाते गए, कहीं हरा तो कहीं सूखा, तो कहीं हरा तो कहीं सूखा। और ये यहाँ से कंपोस्ट बनेगा और यहाँ बाजू के खेत में डालेंगे। दूसरे और 1000 तरीके होंगे कंपोस्ट बनाने के, लेकिन मुझे लगता है ये सस्ता, सुंदर और टिकाऊ। अगर ये कचरा नहीं आता यहाँ तो कहीं जल जाता। तो जो हमने शुरू में बात करी कि खेती हमारा ऐसा हो जो हमारी जलवायु को भी प्रभावित नहीं करे, खराब नहीं करे। हमने एक कहावत है, आपने सुना होगा, कहते हैं कि अगर एम्बेसडर गाड़ी चला ली ना तो बाकी सब कार चला लेंगे। तो हमने सबसे कठिन जगह पे करके दिखाया है कि अगर ये पहाड़ पे पत्थरों पे उग सकता है तो बाकी जमीन पे क्यों नहीं हो सकता। नहीं तो जितना जहर आप एक फसल में डालते हैं ना, खाली 30% पौधा लेता है, 70% जमीन में जाता है। ये वैज्ञानिक बोलता है, जिसने जहर बनाया वही बोलता है। अगर 100 का 100% पौधे में रह जाता तो पहला केला और आदमी मर जाता, पहला केला खा के आदमी मर जाता। लेकिन 70% धरती ले लेती है। जहर का वापस जहर नहीं आ रहा। अगर जहर का मल्टी फोल्ड में वापस जहर आता ना, ये सृष्टि खत्म हो गई होती। इतना जहर हमने खेत में डाल चुके हैं हम। इसीलिए धरती को माता बोलते हैं। अब गुणों को शोषित कर लेती है और गुण को निकाल के बाहर देती है। और अब उसकी नाक तक पानी आ गया, अब नीचे का पानी खराब हो गया, ऊपर जमीन चूना होने लगा। अब तो बंद करिए। कमाने के 1000 तरीके इस धरती पर। धरती जो है ना, जो खेत है, वो जीने का जगह है, भोजन उगाने का जगह, पैसे उगाने का नहीं। पैसे कहीं और उगा लीजिए। नहीं तो मैं कभी यहाँ सूर्यास्त के बाद अकेले में आता हूँ तो मेरे रोए खड़े हो जाते हैं, आंसू निकल जाता है आंख से, क्योंकि मैंने वो जगह, ये जगह देखी है जहाँ एक हरियाली, एक फूल निकलता था तो हम 4-4 लोग अपना आईपैड और मोबाइल लेके जाते थे फोटो लेने के लिए। गुरुदेव को दिखाते थे कि एक फूल खिला है, इतना छोटा सा फूल।
Often we see, we have become so much selfish human beings. Without any benefit, we are not doing anything. That's how then we destroyed the entire planet and still continue to do so. So you might be having a lot of queries, because in our own backyards or front yards or side yards or within our own compounds or locality, we are removing all the plants which are not giving any benefits, like whether it is not yielding any fruits or flowers which are being used, or at least we perceive them as useful, we are removing them, most of them. So in that case, you might have a doubt, or you might be wondering how to exploit that also. Because the very first thing we are getting is how to violate rules. In spite of having so many rules, laws, acts, we don't follow. That itself says our attitude towards the system in which we are existing. We always look for violating the system, violating the nature, violating the environment, violating the laws. And even here also, we are seeing we want to violate the natural laws which are governed for even human beings. So we can also grow similar way. We are talking about preserving the natural forest as it grows naturally. So that's why we are talking about native species. In the same way, at the same time, we can also grow food systems also. Let's watch one more video that will tell you about how you can grow. There are a lot of case studies if you see. Of course, there are challenges, but you should not think that every rupee, every paise you have invested in that, you have 100 or 1,000 or 100,000% return of investment. That is not the way, or that is not the attitude, that is not the perspective we need to have. We have to start with zero expectation. You know, the higher the expectation, the more the disaster, more the disappointment. Like if we have some movie being released of our famous hero or heroine, and you have too much expectation, if you go and if it does not meet your expectation, see, that is very subjective. It's not objective. You have certain expectation and it doesn't meet your expectation, then the movie is flop for you. Even though it has done to certain level. See, there is nothing that performs at zero level. You know, it is somewhere in the continuum, 0 to 100 or maybe 0 to 5. It might be performing, but you will underrate it. So the same thing happens here. See, in the very first place, there is nothing there. As we have seen in the video, it is a barren land. So every sapling that grows there is a wonder there. So start with zero expectation. Don't expect anything, but you will be abundantly blessed with it. Even if you come up with an expectation also, it will be always over your expectation. Your expectation will be far less than what the outcome is, but you need time, you need dedication, you need sincerity, you need commitment towards that. And overnight, nothing is going to change. Only destruction happens overnight. See how millions and billions of years our planet has survived, and within last 3 centuries we have destroyed. We are destroying the entire planet. Overnight things happen only for destruction, for disasters, not for construction or not for generation. It takes a lot of years. You know how many millions and billions of years the planet has evolved, and various species have evolved over a period of time. How human beings from apes, they have evolved into human beings, Homo sapiens, and as of now, how we are able to see as a human being. It took so many years, right? In similar way, it takes time, but not that much time. Even we have seen results in 4 to 6 months, and it sometimes takes 4 to 6 years also. So you have to be very patient. Without any expectation, you start this, and you yourself will come up with a lot of things to share. So let's watch one more video.
It is not that Dharampuri does not get a fair amount of rainfall. On an average, it gets about 825 millimeters of rainfall every year. This is twice the amount a desert state like Rajasthan receives. But Dharampuri, located in Tamil Nadu, is a place of chronic drought.
We are in the most drought-stricken areas of Tamil Nadu.
Drought in Dharampuri happens because of a combination of factors. First, the rainfall in this district is always erratic. It experiences heavy rainfall for short durations.
Drought comes very fast, is longer in duration, and when it rains in floods.
Combined with high temperature and an undulating topography, the water that falls as rain evaporates back into the air. The evapotranspiration rate in this district is twice the amount of rainfall it gets. Yet, one person decided that there was a way to bring water to this parched land. Piyush Manush, an environmental activist and founder of Salem Citizens Forum, decided to grow a forest. He first bought 1.5 acres of land in 2007.
As soon as I came out of college, I used to plant trees. And while planting trees, what struck me was, especially South India, below the Deccan Plateau, it's all undulated landscapes. And these landscapes have been abandoned actually. We have wasted them. So the way we have wasted these lands struck me very hard. And I used to just make a brief calculation. If at all this could be economically useful, it would be very good.
This forest was to be grown through cooperation. He asked his friends to pool in resources to buy land and develop this into a green patch. With the help of his friends, Piyush managed to acquire 250 acres of land.
Cob forest was a intentionally bought, undulated, barren landscape devoid of soil.
But before starting to plant trees, Piyush had to ensure that the soil had enough moisture to sustain a forest.
So first thing that we tried was, we tried to collect all the water as much as we could. So as soon as you stop water, moisture level increases. Moisture level increases, grass will grow. Grass will grow, you can plant trees. Trees planted, mulch will fall. Insects will fall into place. The eco cycle will start, and is all evident.
In 2009, he began by creating rainwater harvesting structures on this piece of land. About 10% of the land was earmarked for these structures.
As soon as you build a rainwater harvesting structure, it shows the results in the very first rain. As soon as it rains, it will show you what it can do. So that is one wonderful thing about rainwater harvesting.
He set out by building large number of trenches and ponds in the area, a few of which hold water throughout the year.
2 big island ponds. Then we have 17 earthen brunt structures, and tranches we have got full of water. We have got 9 tranches as of now. So these tranches have been very, very useful in holding large amount of water, and they run along the stream. So this water circulating around the land and then going out.
The mission then was to plant trees to create a forest. They started by planting 20,000 trees. The cooperative spent rupees 2 million to make the water harvesting structures and planting trees. And this is how the forest looks today.
There are almost 25 to 30 variety of species that would have planted. But then there are 100 of other species that have come on their own.
The cooperative forest now has 70 nature lovers as their members. Most of them are from Salem, a district close to Dharampuri. These members own anything between 1 to 5 acres of land.
Earlier, people used to destroy the forest and do the farming. We want to prove them that by growing green, we can also grow. That is the main aim of this cooperative forest.
They have come to believe that a forest is not only a green and sustainable option for livelihood generation, but is also a great tool to educate people about the environment.
Creating a forest for profit. So profit means meeting needs, not greed.
Not only we are making profit, we are making the people aware of the what is. That is also one of our main aim. All those new generations should be aware of what is ecology and how to sustain it, how to safeguard it.
And if economics is involved, then for sure people will get into green businesses.
The water that the forest would conserve would recharge the groundwater in the surrounding areas that could be used by the farmers.
In 2012 to 14, there was a severe drought. People had to sell their cattle because they didn't have enough drinking water for themselves itself. So all the villagers came to our cooperative forests for their drinking needs. So that was really very heartening.
கூட்டுறவு வனம்னு ஒன்று உருவாக்கிட்டுருக்கோம் 180 ஏக்கரில். அந்த 180 ஏக்கரில் என்ன பண்ணுறோன்னா, ஒரு வறண்ட போன இடமா இருந்த இடத்த வந்து ஒரு மேட்டாங்காடு பகுதியாக இருந்தது. சின்ன சின்ன ட்ரென்ச் வெட்டியிருக்கோம். சின்ன சின்ன ட்ரென்ச்சு, அப்புறம் செக் டேம் நிறைய பண்ணியிருக்கோம். இது பண்ணதுனால நிறைய குளங்கள் வெட்டியிருக்கோம்.
After seeing those things, there are a lot of people, even if you have 9 acres, 10 acres, they are sparing half an acre and making a pond. That is a big education we have given to the farmers in and around.
இது மலை வறண்ட இந்த தண்ணியானது கிராமப்புற மக்களுக்கு தண்ணி போயிட்டுருக்கு. எங்களுக்கு தேவையான தண்ணியும் இருக்குது. கிராமப்புற மக்களுக்கு போகும்போது நிலத்தடி தண்ணி மேலே வரும்போது அவங்க நல்லா விவசாயம் செஞ்சிட்ருக்காங்க. இது ஒன்று பண்ணியிருக்கோம்.
Local community is anyway getting benefited now from the water that we have stored. They used to have 1 crop a year. Now they are having 3 crops a year. So that change is actually making them look towards us.
This model can be replicated by farmers from the neighboring areas. It could be used to substantially increase their incomes.
The first emphasis is they need to come as a cooperative. Some do's and don'ts have to be written for everyone. That at least 5% of land will be given for rainwater harvesting. We have proven that rainwater harvesting land given does make sense. For example, the trench that we have dug up. We have dug the trench up for 30,000. It holds a lot of water. Fishing can be done very intensively. And then you do your farming. The whole idea that we need to transmit to the farmers is that your investment in water security is not a loss. It is an economic gain.
Piyush and his cooperative are now using the produce from this forest to generate business. Bamboo and aloe vera are grown in the forest for commercial utilization.
We don't do only bamboo here. We have a mixed sort of biodiverse space here. But for commercial cultivation, bamboo is a good kickstarter.
Both these items are not sold raw, but through value addition. A workshop creates beautiful furniture out of this bamboo, which attracts customers from across the country.
Bamboo is not just sold raw from here. We harvest the bamboo, make furniture, make the end product and then sell it to the customers.
Similarly, aloe vera from the forest is used to make natural skincare products. Together, bamboo and aloe vera meets most of the costs of this cooperative forest.
We are making hundreds of other cosmetic items which is basically derived from aloe vera gel, shampoo, conditioners, etc. etc. So end to end is a key process, but all this will happen, again I'm coming back, only with water. Only with water being secure, all this will happen. So here we have the drumstick spinach, which is considered a superfood. There's the sangapu, the aparajita, Clitoria tenatia, which is very good for your brain, for women, for their uterus. This is a super juice. This is a lovely spinach called Ponangani spinach. It's a traditional spinach. You know, if you ask Tamilians about Ponangani, they're like, yeah, this is our culture. It's good for your skin and good for your eyes. Then we have the wild brinjal. This wild brinjal, we don't plant it. Like actually quite a few of these things we don't plant, they just grow. And this is also very good for reverse diabetes, for kidneys. This is something that's so fundamental, you know, in our very existence. To know what foods are local, to know what foods are good for us, to know what foods, you know, can be eaten. This is so good for you. This is like a magic plant. And it's a weed. I was very fortunate as a teenager because I went to J. Krishnamurti school in England. And in that school we were very free, you know, to explore more existential questions of life, you know, why was I born, what's the meaning of my life? Alone and joy, oh cry and bear it all, myself a call, I'm just an echo on a distant wall. Oh, could it be that beauty's kiss tonight drives me far from my tomorrows? Say my prayers and I'll say them right. I ended up studying a lot of jazz guitar and I was doing a lot of theater. I was even doing research in genetics. My teacher, he encouraged us to get involved in publishing scientific papers. But it was at that time that I discovered my passion for farming and gardening, you know, a life close to nature, growing my own food. There was a teacher in our school who had lived in Oroville in the 70s, and he was very involved in what he was doing, and it was very appealing to be with him. And I learned from him that we don't have to go to university to do master's degree. Growing your own food, living in community, living a simple life is equally valid. So when we started Solitude, you know, it used to be farmland, but it hadn't been used for many years. And it was just an empty land. It was flat and the soil was, you know, a little poor. There were weeds growing and a few neem trees. And that was all that was there. So we really started from scratch with this land. We're trying to understand and replicate the natural systems in nature. There are so many natural systems going on in nature. I mean, the first obvious one is that leaves and organic matter fall to the ground and decay and become healthy, you know, available nutrients for the plants. So the first element in natural farming, what I say is the first and last technique, is to value all the biomass around us, the organic matter. This bioresource is our profit. It's not a financial profit, it's a nutritional profit. Because when we return it back to the soil, soil becomes healthy. This is the very premise of natural farming.
People in the city, people outside are still stuck with like maybe like 7 to 8 varieties of food that they are eating. People are just eating cauliflowers. Some, maybe like in Bombay also, we eat like 2 varieties of spinaches. But when I came here and I saw it was like 8 varieties of spinaches, and out of that 4 we are not even growing.
You see, food these days is functional. You eat to go and do the job. Everything is geared towards economic gain. I got the iPad, I got the car. But when there's no water left in the tap, what use is that? Man has gone so far away chasing economic growth, he has to come back to this. This is the future of farming. First, as I said, we plant fruit trees. There's a ramphal and there's tamarind and there's jackfruit and mangoes and sapotas. There's a wide diversity of fruit trees. And then there are all the papayas and bananas and so many other plants which are sort of the intermediary infrastructure. And then we have things like the lady's fingers, and there are cucumbers and pumpkins, the sort of shorter duration, the annuals. Then we have all the spinaches that are just growing everywhere. I mean, of course, some of them we'll do in a line like the amaranth, but many of them are wild. And it's these more wild plants that are really interesting. Like, I mean, take this chili here. This chili is an amazing chili. It'll grow like about 4 meters high. We'll get a good full bucket of chilies from it, and we didn't grow it. This sundakai is really a very special plant. Again, it's something that we haven't grown. It grows all over the farm now, and it grows all over the farm because we valued it. But the main point is we didn't grow it. It grew on its own. There was no industrialization needed for this. There is no carbon footprint. Over the years, we've had less and less rainfall. In fact, over the last 7 years, apart from cyclones, there's a couple of them that filled up the well, we haven't had a monsoon that really filled the well. And that makes irrigation really a challenge. But when we return organic matter back to the soil, you start to see the soil becomes like a sponge. You know, it's holding water. You know, this porosity is really synonymous with fertility, and this porosity allows for us to irrigate less. People ask me, no, what about pests? In natural farming, there are no pests because there's an equilibrium starting with the soil and then starting with such diversity. As you walk through the fields, there's a very nice smell of different plants. The insects find their place in that, but not one insect predominates to create destruction, you know, of the whole crop. this is a cafe that values local foods, and it's amazing to see how it's grown over the years. In 2014, we started with the full-blown menu, and that's like nearly 6 years ago. It's become so popular, and you can see in our bioregion how green papaya is slowly valued by more and more people, how certain spinaches are valued by more people. Someone from Sweden showed me how she was using the banana stem, and you know, that's very heartwarming because that's the aim of this cafe. I think at the moment we're doing about 80 to 90 baskets in a month. So that's a good income, and it's all income paid in advance, you know, either a month in advance or 3 months in advance. Many people come in, they say, how can I start? And I've got this 1 acre land. And I say, well, start with fruit trees, and around each fruit tree, make a garden. You know, so you're watering those fruit trees, and that water will also go for that garden. So around each fruit tree, you have like a 2.5 meter diameter circle where you have tapioca, the maravili kelenga, kappa, you have drumstick, you have a papaya, you have a couple of bananas, and maybe you have pumpkins that go out. So instead of trying to, you know, irrigate the whole field and take care of a whole field, you've actually got, say, 20 or 30 circles that you take care of, and you could even put a drip on each circle, because you have to be practical, you know. This is a very romantic idea that we're presenting, but it's grounded in utter pragmatism and reality. The key to this system for a local farmer, after the technical, you know, implementation, is community. Because without community, you can't share the gifts of Mother Nature. Shops don't want banana stem and banana flower and chicken spinach. You know, shops want beetroots and potatoes and carrots. So it's really about having a community of 20, 30 people for an acre farm, and they say, give me the nutrition of Mother Nature. Let my children grow up eating seasonal foods, eating foods that are relevant to my culture and are good for me nutritionally and medicinally. So when you have that community that honors the farmer and honors what he can offer, then the farmer has economic, you know, gain. He'll have an income. Oh, have you seen my, I defy the line that's drawn to define me. Have you seen my, I defy the line that's drawn to define me. Have you seen my, I defy the line that's drawn to define me. Have you seen my, oh, have you seen my, I defy the line that's drawn to define me.
The thought of converting a barren piece of land into a green food forest was daunting. It was very challenging, but I didn't for a moment think that it cannot be done. If you work with nature, nature gives back by leaps and bounds. The trigger point came in 2010 when on a holiday we met a dear friend of mine, Preeti Singh, who told us about permaculture. And she said that her husband and she were planning to buy a piece of land and pursue permaculture, and we really never heard of this word before. But it sounded really fascinating because it was not really agriculture, but it was a way of creating an ecosystem where plants, animals, insects, birds, everybody lived together to create a highly productive environment.
I was born and brought up in a city, and I was working in a bank for 15 years when we came up with this idea. So we treated it like an adventure, like an experiment. It was both scary and exciting at the same time. The entire act of first scouting for land, buying it, getting it fenced up, getting it marked out, which was a new experience for me. So just the fact that we could plant a small sapling of a tree 2 feet in height, and today these have become trees which are 50 feet tall, was something which I could not really envision, and I wasn't fully confident that it would happen.
A barren piece of land. It looked like a dirt track from the city, or an empty plot of land that you will find in a place like Gurgaon or something like that. And because it's a corner plot and has a road on two sides of it, there was a diagonal dirt track running through it. So we had a lot of tractors and motorcyclists who used to go through it. It was a dusty, dry piece of land with about 6 or 7 scraggly date palms. And that's really what we inherited. Our supervisor, who's grown up in this village, says that even when he was a young child and he went to school, this piece of land was always lying barren.
मैंने कहा बाबूजी ये तो ज़मीन ठीक नहीं, अच्छी नहीं ज़मीन, मिट्टी तो पथरीली थी, कोई नाम ही नहीं था भाई हम यहाँ कुछ कर लेंगे। तो अब तो देख लो आपके सामने है, अब तो कितना बढ़िया हो गया, अब तो कितना अच्छा हो गया, बाग बन गए, इसमें आम लग रहे, चीकू लग रहे, सारी चीज़ें जो भी खाने की होती हैं, घर में जो चीज़ें होती हैं, दालें होती हैं, जितनी भी दालें होती हैं, गेहूँ होता है, सारी चीज़ें हम यहीं से बनाते हैं।
Well, so once we bought the land, we'd had to buy the land from quite a few farmers because we were looking for a packet that was at least about 6 acres in size. And so we had to buy it from 5-6 different people. That itself was a Herculean task, getting all of them to come on a particular day and do the registry at the tehsil. But once we got the packet of land, the first thing we did was we got a surveyor to come and survey the land and give us the topography and the exact shape of the land. Once we could see that on a piece of paper, it was much easier to visualize how we would design this place. If you look around our farm, I think each and every farm help also understands this, that naked soil will not be really tolerated on the farm. It's a bit like a wound on your skin. It's like if you don't have your skin and your flesh is exposed, is what naked soil looks like. So soil is always covered. Even when we plant crops or we plant vegetables or anything, we will always cover up the soil with some kind of a mulch. In fact, initially we didn't have any mulch on the soil, on the property. So I had to buy truckloads of mulch from somewhere to mulch up all our trees that we'd planted. So we've applied the principles of zoning when we've built this farm. We've planted a windbreak on the periphery, so you will see 2-3 rows of casuarina and silver oak on the entire periphery of the farm. We've also put a green fence which is of bougainvillea. Bougainvillea is very native to this area, and in fact, it's very common in Chandigarh, Panchkula, and the neighbouring areas. So it was our natural choice for a hedge. We've then followed the principles of zoning. So we've got zone 1, which is where our house is and our vegetable garden is and the herbs are. They're all in the same zone 1. Zone 2 is where we've planted our fruits. Moving on to zone 3 is where we keep animals. So we have cows and hens, and from time to time we've had other animals as well. Zone 4 is where we plant our crops, and initially we didn't have that area. We added on 2 acres of land in 2014, which is where we started growing crops. And zone 5 is really our wildlife corridor. Initially when we started, we'd kept a much smaller zone 1 and zone 2 and a much larger zone 5 because that was the easiest thing to do. But over the years, we've started now entering into zone 5 and taking more area under sort of cultivation or productive cultivation. We've started planting fruit trees in the middle of our forest because we believe now that the soil is ready for fruit trees and that we have the time and the energy to actually look after them and tend to them. We've always had a lot of flood water and storm water runoff running through the farm. It was fairly destructive. It used to take a lot of topsoil and a lot of vegetation with it and pretty much disappear within 24 hours. So we've built a lot of water management systems through the farm. It starts off with the water entering our farm up north through a culvert which flows from under the road. We've built channels which meander through the land, slow down the water. Channels are all lined by grasses and bamboos and date palms. Many of these things just grew by themselves. So they clean the water, they hold back the soil and the dirt and other things which come. The sediment is dropped way above, so none of it flows into the pool. And then this pond overflows, and you can see goes past behind me to the village pond, which is fairly large as well. And once that fills up, then the water flows over the gabion structure which we've made as part of the restoration of the damaged weir, and finally settles into the last pond, which is the retention pond for us. I think I estimate that when it rains heavily and all our ponds, pools, soak pits, when everything fills up, we are probably storing at least 50 to 60 lakh litres of water. Today, water flows through our land like a song. It's like a lovely little brook, and definitely one of my favorite sights in the world is to watch the rainwater flowing through Ananda. Initially, we just, we used to just keep looking at the trees, and if the trees grew taller, we used to feel happy that, the farm is doing well. There was a time when we could actually sit at one end of the farm and see the other extreme of it because there was nothing. And then soon our vision started getting blocked. Some trees grew, they sort of, came in the way. And that's really what started making us feel happy that, yeah, the trees are doing well. I think for us, that was a big motivator. But really the tipping point, and I'd read somewhere in, I think, some permaculture book, that one day your farm will really pop and everything will come together. And I think that happened maybe a couple of years ago, probably about 4 or 5 years into the farm being started. And that's when you start hearing the buzzing of the insects. You see a variety of birds. You can really throw some seeds somewhere and something will start growing. And your effort comes down dramatically and your productivity starts increasing. You are able to grow things which earlier you couldn't grow or wouldn't grow. A lot of things started coming together and started growing. And that's really when you feel that, yes, you're on the right track, and now this has genuinely become an ecosystem where you don't have to do much effort. Some kind of a mulch, so that, okay. All right, bas, go. Bloopers.
तो ये मेरा घर है जो हमने मट के साथ बनाने की कोशिश की है शहर में रहते हुए भी। और ये हमारा ऑर्गेनिक फार्म है जहाँ पे हम नेचुरल तरीके से खेती करने की कोशिश करते हैं। ज़्यादातर सब्जियां उगा रहे हैं अभी, अपना कंपोस्ट बनाते हैं, आप कोई पेस्टिसाइड यूज़ नहीं करते हैं। हमारा मेन मकसद इसमें बहुत ज़रूरी था जुड़ा हुआ कि जो हमारे आसपास के ऑल नेचर्स, बटरफ्लाइज हैं, बीज हैं, चिड़ियाँ हैं, पक्षी, उनके लिए भी बहुत फूड यहाँ पे अवेलेबल हो। इट्स नॉट ओनली अबाउट अस, इट्स मोर अबाउट देम। और हर चीज़ मुझे लगता है कि यू कांट मतलब जब हम लोग एक एनवायरनमेंट में रहने का कितना फ़र्क पड़ता है वो बहुत लॉन्ग टर्म का इफेक्ट है, जिसको शायद पैसों से तोलना या मतलब नापना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है। तो हमने कोई 25 साल पहले आज से ये एक इंस्टीट्यूट शुरू किया था जो बच्चों के लिए था, जिसमें मोस्टली बच्चे इस बैकग्राउंड से आते थे जहाँ उनके लिए मेंटल ट्रॉमा में बहुत है, फिजिकल वायलेंस उनके साथ हुआ है, न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू उनके खाना पीना कम मिला तो उनके हेल्थ के ऊपर में भी इशू बहुत होते थे। तो मोस्टली बच्चे हमारे पास जो आते हैं वो लॉन्ग टर्म में रहने के लिए आते हैं, लाइक टिल द टाइम वो अपने पाँव पे खड़े नहीं हो जाते और अपना काम नहीं करने लगते हैं। तो उनका होम है यहाँ पे जहाँ 50-60 बच्चे रहते हैं। तो जब ये सब्जियां उगानी शुरू की थी पहले दिमाग में था कि अपने लिए उगानी है, पर दिन लगा कि ये तो जगह बड़ी है तो ज़्यादा उगाते हैं। और धीरे धीरे अब हम लोग जो हमारे बच्चे हैं 50-60 उनके लिए भी हम बाहर से नहीं खरीदते हैं पिछले करीब 5 साल से, तो और यहीं से सारी सप्लाई होती है। तो एक टाइम में उनके अराउंड डिपेंड कौन सी सब्जी जा रही है 5 से 7 किलो तक की सब्जी जाती है एक टाइम, वन टाइम। सो ये ज़मीन मैंने कोई 2006 में लिया था, आप कह सकते हो बंजर ज़मीन थी। तो पहले 3 से 4 साल हमने इसमें कुछ भी नहीं उगाया। जो कुछ एक खास तरीके की वीड होती है जिसमें बहुत कांटे होते हैं वो बहुत उगती थी इसमें, तो वो हमने उगने दिया धीरे धीरे और उन्हीं को इसमें वापस मल्च होने दिया और कुछ नहीं किया। उसके बाद में हम लोगों ने इसमें 3 साल 4 साल बाद में थोड़ी सी दाल डाल दी, थोड़े से गेहूँ डाल दिया, थोड़ा और मिलेट्स अलग अलग तरीके के डाल दिए और उनको उगने दिया और उनको भी मल्च करके इसी में मिलाते गए। अराउंड 4 से 5 से 6 साल का प्रोसेस था। उसके बाद हमने सब्जी उगानी शुरू की थी इसमें। फर्स्ट 2 साल तो बहुत अच्छी सब्जी नहीं आई थी, इट्स लाइक जस्ट थोड़ा बहुत हुई, बट 3rd ईयर से लाइक वी कैन सी द चेंज, लाइक ना इतनी तेज़ी से सब्जियां उगनी शुरू हुई और धीरे धीरे उनकी ग्रोथ अब बढ़ती जा रही है कि अब हम लोग का कंजम्पशन ही नहीं, हम बाहर भी थोड़ा बहुत बेचने लग गए हैं इसको। तो हम लोग 50-60 लोग हैं जो रोज़ यहाँ से सब्जी निकालते हैं और खाते हैं। तो लहसुन जैसे मेरे घर के लिए तो पूरे साल का निकल आता है, मुझे लहसुन नहीं खरीदना पड़ता, प्याज नहीं खरीदना पड़ता, स्टोरेज कर लेती हूँ। ऐसी हल्दी मैं बिल्कुल नहीं खरीदती, अब धनिया भी नहीं खरीद रही हूँ, मेथी भी नहीं खरीद रही हूँ, ये चीज़ें मैं बिल्कुल नहीं खरीद रही बाज़ार से। और फ्रूट्स तो मुझे आई थिंक 2-3 साल हो गए मैंने बाज़ार से ख़रीदा ही नहीं है बिल्कुल भी। जो पर यही है कि जो उग रहा है वही खाने को मिलेगा, आपको उसके अलावा कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, क्योंकि वो उस सीज़न के लिए ही बेस्ट वही है खाना। दूसरी चीज़ें बेस्ट नहीं है तभी अवेलेबल नहीं है नेचुरली। कोशिश यही होती है कि अपना सीड कलेक्शन हम खुद बनाएं, और जिनके नहीं मिल पाते हैं या नहीं बन पाते हैं वो फिर हम कोशिश करते हैं ऐसे रिसोर्सेज से लेने की जहाँ से नेचुरली ग्रोन किया हो उन्होंने भी। यहाँ पे अभी हम लोग की मे बी मोर वही समर वेजिटेबल्स आएंगी ज़्यादातर यहाँ पे। दिस एरिया इज़ फॉर द भिंडी, क्योंकि पिछले साल यहाँ पे टिंडा तोरी थे, इस साल भिंडी आएगी, तो रोटेट भी होता है। इस साल जिस जगह पे जो सब्जी उगाई है नेक्स्ट सीजन पे वो सब्जी यहाँ नहीं उग के दूसरी जगह जाएगी, रोटेट होएगी। ये घनश्याम भैया हैं और यही हमारे साथ में काम करते हैं पूरा, इनको हम अन्नदाता भी बुलाते हैं यहाँ पे इसलिए तो सारा खेत यही देखते हैं। पर इतनी अब इनकी इतनी काबिलियत हो गई है कि इनको लोग ऑफ़र करने लग गए हैं अब कि हमारे पास आके ऑर्गेनिक खेती करने लग जाओ। और इनको मुझसे कहीं बहुत ज़्यादा मालूम है चीज़ों के बारे में, क्योंकि कहीं इनकी रूट से वो स्किल आ रही है।
मुझे यहाँ घास लगाने का कॉन्टेक्ट मिला था, तो घास लगाने को हम आए थे। फिर यहाँ पे ज़रूरत भी थी, तो 2003 से मैं कर्म मार्ग में काम कर रहे हैं। खेती ही करना हमारा शुरू का, गांव पे जब रहते थे तब भी मैंने खेती ही करी है। हमें 3-4 साल तो लगी गए हैं, जो कि उपजाऊ नहीं सही से उपज रही थी, लेकिन उसके बाद फिर हम थोड़ी बहुत गोबर की खाद बाहर से ले आए। गोबर की खाद तो कभी साल 2 साल में डाल दिया, बाकी हमने अभी जो डाल रहे हैं ये ज़्यादातर यही अपने घर की बनाई हुई, पत्तों द्वारा बनाई हुई खाद। और ये हम जो है जैसे अमृत जल बोलते हैं, जीवामृत बोलते हैं, इसको हम गोबर, गाय का गोबर और गाय का मूत्र द्वारा उसको बनाते हैं। अब इस मिट्टी में हम कुछ भी बोते हैं, ज़मीन में बनने वाली चीज़ है, आलू, शकरकंदी या लहसुन, प्याज, हल्दी, अदरक, ये सब चीज़ें हम, बाकी गोभी, ब्रोकली, पालक वगैरह ये तो आम चीज़ें, ये तो होती ही रहती हैं।
ये हमारा सबसे कूलिंग एरिया होता है जब समर होती है ना, नीम के पेड़ की वजह से, और इधर जकरांडा का पेड़ है, इसकी वजह से बहुत कूलिंग एरिया रहता है। हमने एक ही जामुन लगाया था ये, और उसके बाद अब हमारे पास 3-4 पेड़ हैं, अपने आप हो गए। तो हमारे दोस्त हंसते हैं कि यहाँ पे एक वाइन का वो लगा देते हैं, अंगूर की वाइन बनाया करेंगे बैठ के, और बहुत अच्छी क्वालिटी अंगूर आते हैं ये। और इसमें अंगूर में फ़ायदा ये है कि एक बार लगा दो तो कई सालों तक आपको अंगूर देते रहते हैं, बार बार इसको लगाना नहीं पड़ता है। तो इसमें एक ख़ास चीज़ ये होती है कि विंटर में आपको बिल्कुल शेड नहीं मिलती, मतलब पूरी धूप मिलती है, पत्ते सारे झड़ जाते हैं, और समर आते ही इसमें इतने पत्ते आ जाते हैं कि नीचे एकदम डार्क शेड होता है, तो आप इसके नीचे आराम से बैठ सकते हो, पूरी शेड मिलती है इसमें। फ्रूट्स के फ्रूट्स मिल रहे हैं और छाया की छाया। साइड में देख रहे होंगे सफ़ेद सफ़ेद फूल, ये अलसी के पौधे हैं, फ्लैक्सीड जिसको बोलते हैं हम लोग। तो ये बहुत अच्छी फ्लावरिंग भी देते हैं पूरा, और उसके बाद में इसमें से फ्लैक्सीड निकल आएंगे अपने। और इस तरफ अब बैंगन लगे हुए हैं, इसके बीच में सारी वो लग गई हैं तरबूज, उसकी सीताफल, लौकी, टिंडा, ये सब सीडिंग हो चुकी हैं यहाँ पे। सो यहाँ पे गाजर उगी हुई है बहुत, गाजर, मेथी, पालक, ये सारे सिट्रिक्स प्लांट के फ्रूट्स हैं, वो पेड़ हैं। बीच में चीकू का है, इनमें काफ़ी हमको पूरे, एक बार शुरू होता है आई थिंक जून से, और पूरा विंटर तक हमको इसमें मौसमी, माल्टा, संतरा, ये सब मिलते रहते हैं फ्रूट्स। अभी इनमें नया फ्लावरिंग चालू हो गई है। सो ज़्यादातर हम लोगों ने कोशिश ये की है कि यहाँ जो भी हम प्लांटेशन करें उसमें परमानेंट प्लांट्स ज़्यादा हों, या फ्लावरिंग प्लांट्स भी परमानेंट ज़्यादा हों, जिससे केयरिंग के लिए और उसमें ज़्यादा उसमें टाइम ना जाए। और मोस्टली सिलेक्टिव प्लांट वही हैं जिसमें बर्ड्स को, बटरफ्लाइज को, बीज को कुछ ना कुछ फूड पूरे साल मिलता ही रहे। उसके अलावा गिरगिट वगैरह, गिलहरी, यही सब तो बहुत हैं। ये सब चीज़ों के बारे में जो हम बोल रहे हैं वो उन्हीं की जगह है, वो रहते हैं, हम उनकी जगह में आए हुए हैं, तो उनका राइट पहला है यहाँ पे रहने का, उसके बाद हमारा है। तो इसलिए हम लोग किसी भी जो भी सिस्टम में हैं उनमें से किसी को भी उखाड़ फेंकने की बात नहीं करते हैं, वो यहाँ रहेंगे और उनके साथ हम सर्वाइव करेंगे। जब आप फार्माकल्चर में जाते हो और उसको पढ़ने लगते हो तो खाली फ्रूट प्लांट्स नहीं, उसके साथ साथ में आपको लगता है कि आप ऐसे फ्रूट प्लांट्स या ऐसे पेड़ भी लगाओ साथ में जो दूसरे पक्षियों को और उनको भी भोजन देना। सो हमने वहाँ पे फिर चेंजेस करने शुरू किए, लाइक ऐसे फ्रूट्स प्लांट्स को लगाना शुरू किया जिसके में भी फूल ज़्यादा अट्रैक्ट करते हैं बटरफ्लाइज को, बीज को, चिड़ियों को, और हमें फल मिल जाते हैं, या ऐसे फल जो वो भी खाते हैं और हम भी खाते हैं। तो वो उसकी वजह से यहाँ पे हमारे एक छोटे से एरिया में इतने पक्षी आ गए हैं अब, और इतने सारे अलग अलग तरीके की और जीव जंतु देखने को मिलते हैं जो कि पहले नहीं मिलते थे हमको। जब ये जगह थी तो बरगद के लिए सब बोल रहे थे कि इसको हटा देते हैं, बरगद नहीं रखते, बहुत जगह लेता है। बट बरगद एक ऐसे पेड़ है जो आपका ऑक्सीजन लेवल तो साफ़ करता ही है, उसके बाद बहुत सारे पक्षियों को ये बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है उनकी नेस्टिंग के लिए। मैं डेली अपराजिता की चाय पीती हूँ, विच इज़ वेरी गुड फॉर आपकी डायबिटीज़ के लिए, इन्फ्लेमेशन के लिए, अस्थमा के लिए, मेंटल हेल्थ के लिए तो बहुत ही अच्छा है अपराजिता। सो अपराजिता हमारे यहाँ बहुत लगी हुई है, और हम अपने सारे बच्चों को भी, जिनको भी, क्योंकि हमारे पास बच्चे इस बैकग्राउंड से आते हैं ना, साइकोलॉजिकली इफेक्टिव, उनको सबको पिलाते हैं अपराजिता की चाय। ये पत्थर चट्टा है, एक्चुअली ये भी वीड ही होती है एक तरीके की, तो इसको हमको थोड़ा कंट्रोल रखना पड़ता है, नहीं तो बहुत तेज़ी से फैलता है।
ये किडनी वाला,
हाँ, पत्थर चट्टा किडनी और चोट पे भी काम आता है, दर्द जहाँ पर है वहाँ पे। एंड दैट्स एलोवेरा बहुत है हमारे पास में, क्योंकि ये हम लोग अपने शैम्पू बनाने में भी यूज़ करते हैं, नहाने के लिए भी यूज़ करते हैं, खाने में भी यूज़ करते हैं, तो बहुत सारी चीज़ों पे जाता है ये। और किचन वेस्ट का पानी, किचन का जो पानी है सारा, एंड कम हियर, और यहाँ पे हमने वो केले और बैम्बू और पाइप्रस लगाया हुआ है सारा, तो पानी को वहीं पे सोख भी लेते हैं, और यहाँ पे काफ़ी उनको चिड़ियों और उसको कीड़ों मकोड़ों को रहने की काफ़ी जगह मिलती है उस जगह पे। जब से हमने अपनी सब्जियां और अपनी फल खाने शुरू किए हैं, हमारे जो मेडिकल खर्चों पे बहुत फ़र्क पड़ा है करमबाग में, क्योंकि बच्चों को पहले बहुत बार न्यूट्रिशन की वजह, मतलब उनके हेल्थ ठीक नहीं थी तो उनको ले जाना पड़ता था डॉक्टर के पास, और हम लोग बहुत सारी ट्रीटमेंट भी यहीं करने लग गए, नॉट उसके लिए छोटी छोटी चीज़ के लिए डॉक्टर के पास जाना। अमरूद का, नीम का दातुन सब बच्चे करते हैं हमारे मोरलेस, तो दांतों की प्रॉब्लम कम होने लग गई है। तो जब उनको पता है कि हमारा हीमोग्लोबिन कम हो रहा है, हमें पालक खाना है, हमें हरी सब्जियाँ ज़्यादा खानी है, जो कि नॉर्मली घरों में बच्चे नहीं खाते हैं, तो यहाँ पे बड़े आराम से वो खाते हैं। यहाँ सब बच्चों को पता है आंवला खाने से बाल अच्छे होते हैं, स्किन अच्छी होती है, सब आंवला खाते हैं अपने आप, हमें बोलना नहीं पड़ता है। तो वो एक चीज़ सिस्टम है जो यहाँ पे काफ़ी अच्छे से डेवलप हुआ है और पास ऑन हो रहा है जनरेशन टू जनरेशन। जब भी मैं काम पे आती थी तो मैं मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम यहाँ आके बैठ जाती थी अपना लैपटॉप लेके, और या बच्चों से बातचीत भी करना है तो किसी दो बच्चों से अलग बात करना है, किसी स्टाफ से कुछ डिस्कस करना है, तो हम यहाँ पेड़ों के नीचे आके बैठ जाते थे और हम बात करते थे। आई डोंट ट्रीट हिम लाइक माई ट्रीज, और ये इट्स लाइक माई फैमिली, लाइक माई बच्चा कह लो या मेरे बड़े कह लो, बड़े बूढ़े हैं, मेरे बच्चे हैं, ये सब है। तो वो एक कनेक्शन बहुत स्ट्रांग था मेरा इनके साथ में, तो इसलिए मैंने सोचा घर भी क्यों ना इन्हीं के बीच में फिर बनाया जाए।
So we have our next presenter with us, Dr. Chandrakala Diyale from Amity University, Department of Social Work. So she will be presenting on importance of greenery, focusing on Tulsi, the indigenous holy plant of India. We welcome you, ma'am. You can unmute yourself and start your presentation. And also start your video.
Sorry, sir. I would not be able to switch on the video because there is some problem. And moreover,
Please continue.
Moreover, I'm using a new computer, so I was not aware that my name is not going to appear there. So, but had a blessing of watching your beautiful, theme-oriented video on greenery and ecosystem. So I'm blessed tonight, this evening. So I'm Dr. Chandrakala from Amity University. I'm here to talk about greenery and, greenery focusing on Tulsi plant. It's a holy plant. Before I begin, I would like to thank, I extend my heartfelt thank to Ravindra sir for having given this opportunity to me to speak about something so close to all of us, our heart, but we are not able, we are handicapped actually in some case, handicapped because of modernization, because of urbanization, industrialization. We are not able to, kind of look back and see as what we have already missed. And something that we have missed is going to really affect our future, which we are seeing. We thought it's a, long run future, but we are getting to see the repercussion of our, urbanized living, industrialized living, the modern way of living, comfort, sophistication. So all of that repercussion we are getting to see now. And more so because of post-COVID, where we saw that, irrespective of any kind of disease or calamity or pandemic, one thing that's going to survive the human civilization is the source of food, source of food, air, water, oxygen. These are, these are abundantly given in nature, but we have already polluted them to an extent that we had to really ask, we were gasping, out of breath because of lack of oxygen. Why? Because we don't have greeneries around. We are losing out on the source of survival for us and in near future for the whole generation to come, not only human generation, but all the organisms that are going to require all this ubiquitous, but very, very important, resources, elements of nature, land, air, and water. And today, when we are talking about greeneries, we have, I'm very small person to talk about after having seen, I witnessed 2-3 videos that Ravindra sir had played, and there Mrs. Lal, Miss Veena, they have already presented the importance of having greeneries all around, having plant greeneries all around, how they have transformed the, barren land into green land, that it has given them sustenance, not only sustenance, but even, they could make it a commercialized land. So this is the benefit of, best use of natural resources, which is abundantly given, but that needs care, that needs a lot of respect, that needs patience, that needs a lot of connection with love, with land, air, water. So that needs heart-to-heart connection with nature, that we are missing out. Our next generation, which has become a technical robots, we are already missing. And I'm in Amity University, which is known across the world for having all the digitalized, even our attendance and everything register, everything is maintained, online, digitalized. So when I am, working with the Amity University kind of place where everything is digitalized, where everything is, mechanical, I am given the topic to, speak on greeneries and our holy plant, focusing on holy plant Tulsi. So, when I was just sitting and thinking as what am I going to speak, then first thing I would like to tell you is, sustainable after Millennium Development Goal, then we have started racing for Sustainable Development Goals, which we are supposed to achieve, realize all the goals, by 2030. So how far we are able to do it? So it is to do with, no poverty, zero hunger, good health, well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water, sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, and so many other sustainable cities and communities, and then responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, and then peace, justice, and strong institution, partnership for for achieving all the goals. So these are 17, sustainable development goals that the world is racing for. But today, when we are talking about development, what we are talking, how concretize, when we are categorizing the countries into developed countries, developing countries and underdeveloped countries, you get to see underdeveloped countries having more land use on agriculture, farming, sustainable living, fresh air, fresh water, and unused land, or maybe mismanagement of land or something. When it comes to developed countries, you get to see lesser land on agriculture, lesser land on farm, lesser land on, sustainable living, or subsistence living, and more land on economic development, concretization, beautification, more of planning, and less of nature. So my question to all the audiences, don't you think the concept of development is a big question, a big, alarming situation when we are calling, a country developed if they have more concretized building, their infrastructural development, when we are concretizing, hiding the swell, so then it is a developed country. That means our focus is only on the dollar, our focus is only on multiplying the dollars. multiplying the sophistication, multiplying the, cleanliness or clear air without dust, without having to see dust anywhere. Because, I mean, if you go to all developed countries, you'll get to see road, pavement, everywhere you'll get to see sealed up. And you'll get to see the trees being planted, after every meter or something, or half the meter and all. So in that case, our development, I feel the definition of development should be changed, and these countries who are having such concept of development where they are only focusing on dollar and, multiplication of dollars or accumulation of dollars, value of development, the development is equivalent to amount of dollar that they have, right? So when we are focusing on such, criteria for being a developed country, then it is, these countries are thriving just because of developing countries and underdeveloped countries supplying them with a lot of sources of food. For example, if you go to Canada, the best of the food and fruits that comes to their country after rigorous examination that there should not be zero content of, pesticide and all that, they see to it that they should not have any chemical on the fruit. There should not be any kind of, poor varieties of fruits or food. The quality is being taken care when they try to import the food, right? So that means they are being supplied from developing countries and the developed countries. For example, if you go to Singapore, you'll get to see, countries like Bangladesh, countries like Pakistan, countries like Malaysia, Malaysia, Indonesia, supplying the food to them. So these developed countries are able to, you must be having a question on your mind that why is this speaker speaking that they are not developed countries? They are thriving. They are having, good amount of dollar along with the good amount of food and all the supplies, basic supplies of life, whatever material they need. But is because they are totally dependent on developing countries and the underdeveloped countries, who are the major supplier of all the food items to them. If you go to US, Canada and all, you'll get to see, like, from India, UK, from India, best of the varieties of fruits and food, what we don't get to see the varieties out here in Indian market. We get to see, Canadian saying that, okay, we have had, Indian mango. The other day I was just talking to my friend and he was showing, these are the varieties that has come from India and they are best of the quality. So that means these developing countries are supplying them. So that needs to be really taken care. And it is a thought-provoking thing, that our farmers, our indigenous people are growing indigenous varieties, and who is enjoying? People who are, staying there in UK, USA, Canada, Singapore, because they have more dollars to fetch for the suppliers, right? So that needs to, and another thing is, post-COVID, we have got to know that we need, good air in the sense which is abundant with oxygen content. We need good land, and because solid waste management was a challenge during COVID, because most of our cleaners and all, they were, in-house, because they could not come out because of the sickness or because of office not being open and all. So municipality had a lot of challenges to see to it that, ground is clear of the solid waste. So, of course, the, non-biodegradable materials. And other one is, and water, yes, we had a good amount of rainfall during COVID time. So then, we got to see a lot of Facebook posts and all where, that land was inhabited by, human population and all. And there used to be a lot of marketplace and all near the beach area, near, the sea area and all. Then people started, moving in, and going back to their own places and all, their own villages and all. Then these places were, then they could see the indigenous birds, animals, coming back, to those lands, So in that case, we got to see that it is so evident that, human population were trying to intrude into the animal or wildlife or, the marine ecosystem. So we had already occupied so insensibly, but this earth is supposed to be cohabitated by everyone. So we have got to understand that. And post-COVID, many of the technocrats and, technical people, IT people and all from US, UK, from whichever developed countries and all, they could understand that, during the crisis, they are not going to be, treated well outside, whichever countries they had gone to. So they started coming back. They started realizing that it is always good to be in their own country and make best use of the land available. So my own friends, they came, South Indian friends and all, they came and they bought acres of land and they started becoming, they started doing farming and all with the help of indigenous farmers and all, who lend hand to them to convert the barren land into green land, a farmland, where they had multiple varieties of crops, not only for their own consumption, but for commercial purposes. And I could really share emails with them and all. So in future, I'm going to take my children, my students there to South India and many of this Faridabad and all, what sir has just shown us the video. So all that. So I have a plan. So let us just, understand once again why forest, green belts, is very, very important for us. See, forest, it covers 1/3 of the earth landmass. So it performs various vital functions around the world, right? So, see, at present, 1.6 billion people, including more than 2,000 indigenous culture, they depend on forests for their livelihood. So these are tribal people, SCs and all these indigenous, people, they are still, and indirectly the whole world is thriving because we have forest. Okay, because we are, although we are, living in the concrete, jungle, so to say, but all our comforts and everything is coming from the forest, because furniture that we sit on, whatever we have, luxurious item and all, is mostly coming from the forest. Forests are the most biologically diverse ecosystem on land. So it is, what is the biological diverse ecosystem? That means it is, it has all the diversities, there are many things, it is the food, different food is coming from, food varieties are coming from forest. We are getting to find many herbs, many things are coming, to name it all, it is going to be difficult, I mean, we have everything sourced from the forest. Forests are home to more than 80% of the terrestrial species of animals, plants, and insects. So, whatever animals, plants, and insects that we have, all the, organic, organism and plants, 80%, of it is thriving in forest. Forests provide shelter, jobs, and security for forest-dependent communities. How security? Because they have a sense of security of values that is going to be brought by the logs and every part of the forest, wherever it fetches some income to them, right? Forest plays a key role in our battle in adapting and mitigating climate change. Yes, of course, the whole world is thriving. The human and other organism, our civilization is thriving because we have forests to fetch us with oxygen, absorbing the carbon dioxide, being reservoir of water, so our life system is totally dependent on forests. Forests contribute to the balance of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and humidity in the air. If we don't have all this basic element, we'll die. Forests protect watershed, which supplies 75% of fresh water worldwide. Because we have forests, hence we have rivers. Because forests are the ones who are going to anchor the water, they form a very good watersheds, and then they would supply it to the rivers, then that get into the sea and then ocean. So, and now these days, because of the technological, innovation and all, this Arab countries are converting the seawater into drinking water with elaborate, purification system. So other day I was just watching the video, so it was very interesting as how they convert the salty, seawater into drinkable water, and that's how they're, they are able to do agriculture in the arid, land. So their land use pattern is changing because they have good water to supply to their, arable land or agriculture, which is converted, arid land converted into arable land. Forests provide priceless ecological, economic, social, and health benefits, as you have already seen through videos and all that were played just, 20 minutes back. That's how, forest provides everything. It provides good ecology, ecosystem. Ecosystem is where you have, human being in the center, of center, and then, then other organism, which are very, very vital for the earth to remain sustainable, because if we have right amount of carbon dioxide, right amount of oxygen, right amount of, different varieties of organism and all, then our ecosystem would be healthier and livable. Economic, how, as we already know, it supplies us with everything to help us sustain, economically. Social, yes, of course, our basis of social life is because of the ecology, and forest is the major source of our social life, because the happiness, mental health that we talked about, just the video, was shown, mental health, that what was that plant, Aparajita chai, I need to really Google in what is this Aparajita chai that they plant, and they make a chai out of this Aparajita to combat mental health of people, of children who they are having there in their, home away from home. I think it's a hostel, or I don't know, it's a childcare home or something, where they are being given, supplied with this Aparajita chai that helps in combating the mental health. Children who have undergone a lot of trauma and stress and all that. So forest has been giving us, greeneries have been giving us with plentiful source of life, so we don't have to really and these days people have become so conscious that I get to see, in Amity University also, though we have a centralized AC and fully covered, with the proper glasses and, I don't know, all the latest, screens and all that. But every one of us are so conscious to keep tulsi, money plant and snake plants and whatever, we Google in as which plant is best for the, in-house oxygen bills, and also that we remain healthy inside our this, this totally covered, centralized AC domes, what we call it, right? So now I would focus on tulsi, which is, I would like to highlight tulsi. As we already know, tulsi has a lot of benefits. Actually, tulsi is being associated with, a ma, why it is being called ma, tulsi ma, because as per Hinduism, it is very, very auspicious for a house to do away with the bad energy and to let in the good, positive energy inside the house. If we plant tulsi right in the center of the, the outside of the house, and it is always being kept outside, so that tulsi would bring in a lot of positive vibes to the house, into the house. So, and tulsi has a lot of, it is called basil, holy basil, and it has a lot of health benefits. It has a lot of nutritional values and all. Let us just, delve into detail as what all tulsi gives. Tulsi, or holy basil, is a widely known herb in the family Lamiaceae. It is native to India and vastly cultivated throughout Southeast Asian countries. Tulsi has a special place in Ayurveda, as well as the home of Hindus in India. It is considered sacred by Hindus and worshipped by them. 3 main types of tulsis are seen growing in India. So it is very sacred to, see, now, after having done a lot of research, scientists across the world have understood the meaning of tulsi. But in India, we knew it since the ancient time. Our rishis and all, they knew the guna, the essence of tulsi, and having tulsi in the house in front of the of their plate. So that's for the reason, if you go still now, if you go to this UP, nook and corner of UP and all this north belt, and then South India, you'll get to see tulsi everywhere in front of their house. I've seen in Kerala and South Indian houses and all, which is design, taking care of ecology and health and all that. They always make it a point to have tulsi right in front of their house. So there are many varieties of tulsi. One is called Ram tulsi, and the other one is Krishna tulsi, and the other one is Vana tulsi. So bright green leaves, that is called Ram tulsi. That's greener, much brighter greener. Purplish green leaves called Krishna tulsi, and common wild Vana tulsi. It's called forest, wild tulsi. That means it is widely available in the forest areas, right? So there are 3 varieties of tulsi, and I have really interacted because I have also kept a lot of tulsi at home, but it requires a lot of care. If you don't take care, if the vibes, the aura of the house doesn't have positivity, then it dies, it dries up. So I get to, I had installed 2 tulsi plants, and while my the elder daughter was hospitalized very recently, that tulsi, I could see, even though I was watering it, it had showing me some sign, it started drying, and I was so nervous, and I was so concerned about the fact that why, after, in spite of taking care of that tulsi plant, it is drying up. And it hit me so hard that even in the dream, I got to see, I was near the river, and both the side tulsi plants were being planted, bunches of tulsis were there, but it was drying, to that extent it had affected me. So because I was concerned as why it is drying up. So because it kind of the positivity has to be there in the house to have a green tulsi, a very, very fresh tulsi in the house. So if it is not a positivity, or something bad is there, then you'll get to see tulsi drying. So you need a conscious attempt, conscious preparation to have tulsi planted in front of the house. If you have to be very, very conscious of the fact that you have positivity all around in your house, your relationship, your cleanliness, and everything, So that has really taught me that, and my neighbor has been very, very, she is a very, very good homemaker. So she informed to me that it is very, very important, since your daughter was not well, this, that, and all. So I had become conscious about that after that. So tulsi has proved to be highly effective in protecting our body from various infection and diseases of the liver, skin, kidney. See, it is so vital against infection and diseases of very vital organs of our body. Liver, if liver is good, our gut is good. Skin, see, skin, every one of us are so conscious about it. And kidneys, where we are these days, we get to see kidney failing because of bad water drinking, because of, metal infused water and all. Because of that, our kidney is getting affected. Every time I see the post, mother donating kidney to her son. So even in Amity University, the other day, I was just, 1 or 2 students have shared with me that their mother or father or brother, they have donated them the kidney. So young age, just entered the UG level. So why the kidney problem is so prevalent these days is because of drinking wrong water, food. So, and the oil that, the oil that we are eating is not good. Luckily for me, I'm conscious, since I belong to a Bengal side. So we are very conscious of the fact that mustard oil is very good. These days, people are going for olive oil, which is infused with a lot of mineral oil, and, this soya bean, this variety. But best is mustard oil for health, for any, if you, it is very good. If you can Google it and check, it is, of course, very good, and you don't have to go in for olive oil and all, which comes very expensive from abroad and all that, because olives are not widely available in India. Hence, it is an international, what do I say, conspiracy to help people to understand that, it's a misinformation that only olive oil would give good health and all that. So these days, earlier we used to make choka, that is very, very important in Assam, West Bengal, and, Bihar. This is very, very important, food, choka, that we make potato choka and salad and all. And we always infuse it with mustard oil. But these days, people have become so modern, people have become so westernized in their thinking, in their way of life. They try to use something that is so not very indigenous. So our indigenous oil is very good. So, because of that, a lot of liver, skin, kidney problems we are having. So in order to combat that also, Tulsi has proved to be very, very effective. It contains powerful oxidant that can help in keeping your blood pressure level and cholesterol level under control, making it one of the best heart healthy foods. See, I'm coming to the point that you are not supposed to overdose. If something is giving you good health, you are not supposed to consume it more. Then it has a opposite reaction. So do not think, oh, I'm just trying to explain you. I'll come back to the something, I'll come to the point where you should be careful about not overdosing the, Tulsi, okay? I mean, every good thing should be taken in small amount. That's what our elder people in the house, they say, making it one of the best heart healthy food. It is good for diabetes and it possesses hypoglycemic properties which are known to help lower blood sugar level. It is recommended to include Tulsi in your diabetic diet plan. Owing to its numerous health benefits, Tulsi is rightly called the Queen of Herbs. So it is called Queen of Herbs. So how nutritive values? Now let us just find out nutritional value of Tulsi. I will just explain you. As far as nutritive value of Tulsi is concerned, amount per 100 grams serving, calories is 22. So it has calories 22. Total fat 0.6 gram. In every 100 grams serving of Tulsi, we get to find 0.6 gram. Saturated fats 0 gram. It doesn't have saturated fat. Cholesterol 0 gram. Total carbohydrates 2.7 gram. Dietary fiber, yes, it has a good amount of dietary fiber. In every 100 gram, it has 2.7 gram. Dietary fiber 1.6 gram. Sugars 0.3 gram. Protein, yes, it has a good amount of protein. In every 100 gram of serving, 3.2 gram is the protein. Sodium 4 milligram. Potassium 295 milligram. Magnesium, I'll talk about magnesium. Percentage of daily required intake. See, it has potassium also, and potassium, iron 17%. We require 17% of in our everyday diet. We need 17% in 100%. We need 17% of iron in our diet every day. Magnesium 16% we require. So it has magnesium also. Calcium. All of us know calcium is very important for our bone health. So 17% can be derived from Tulsi. So vitamin C 30%, vitamin B6 10%, vitamin D 0%. So we've got to, Tulsi doesn't provide vitamin D, so we've got to sit in the sun. Then, popping in the tablets, it's good to be in the sun. Now let us just go through the benefits of Tulsi. So research has shown that there are many benefits of Tulsi. First is, and it is a natural immunity booster. So that's for the reason during COVID, people were dying to have tulsi tea, and every now and then, tulsi is going to protect us. So we got to know post-COVID how important, when we talked about Kada, all of us, we know, that has survived us than any medications during COVID in order to combat COVID. So natural immunity booster. So if we have at least 2-3 petals and 5 to 7 petals for the whole house, that is dipped in the water, boil and make tea, include it with the green tea and all, that's going to boost your immunity on daily basis. Those who are traveling by public transportation and all. So that's going to bring you with a lot of benefits in case of your natural immunity booster. Reduces fever, pain. So anybody who's having, fever and pain, joint pain and all, which is so very common these days, we can have, tulsi. Reduces cold, cough, and other respiratory disorder. So because of the air pollution, we are suffering with respiratory disorder, and COVID was one of that. Cold, cough, and all that. So it helps in combating cold, cough, and respiratory disorder. So asthmatic people, it is good for you all to have tulsi. Reduces stress and blood pressure. See, it even combats that stress. So yes, that means it is directly or indirectly beneficial for mental health too. So blood pressure, which has become a lifestyle disease, a very common lifestyle disease. Every 5th person has blood pressure, in India. So tulsi, let us, plant a lot of tulsis, but, we have to be conscious. While I was living in Lucknow, I said, why not the whole ground be filled with tulsi plant? Then that gardener said, ma'am, garden, every people are, elderly, children are going to come and sit there and all. We can't plant tulsi everywhere because it's ye maa hai, and it requires a lot of gratitude, and, you've got to be conscious about sitting and all during periods and all. You are not supposed to go near to it or give water to it and all that. So we've got to be conscious as where we are planting. Otherwise, every crisscross we would have planted, tulsi, but we have to be very, very cautious and conscious about where to plant, because we need to. It's a herbal plant. It is queen of herbs. So we've got to be, and in India, we call it Ma. So we've got to, have a lot of gratitude for it. It is anti-cancer property. It has anti-cancer properties. So very recently, now they are coming up, I had read this report where, scientists have come up with a medicine for against combating, any kind of cancer. So, so it is because it has a lot of gunas, it has a lot of, benefits, good for heart health. So it protects our health, heart also, because if respiratory organs is intact, so hence our heart is going to be supplied with fresh blood, so hence it is very good for diabetes patients. So it is very, very good for diabetes patient also, because it helps to keep our gut healthy, and when our gut is not healthy, then hence we suffer with diabetes, right? Useful in kidney stones and gouty arthritis. That means gouts, that what we call. My father also suffered with gout, post his 55 years and all, but he, with the help of water therapy and this Ayurveda and this yoga and all, that has helped him to combat. And today he is 87 years and he's happy and healthy, you know. So it's because of all good food and energies, positive energy. So that's going to help you. So, you know, it's very good to have tulsi or include tulsi in your daily diet. Useful in gastrointestinal disorders also. So it is very good for gut, as I already mentioned. Good for skin and hair too. So ladies and men's also, those who are losing their hair and those who are not having good skin. So to use tulsi, acts as an insect repellent. So if you plant tulsi, that's for the reason it used to be planted in Indian houses. It used to be planted right in front of the house because it used to repel the insects, harmful insects, insect bites and blood purification. See, it helps in not only neem, but, you know, include tulsi as well against insect bite and blood purification and all that. Oral and dental health. It is very good for oral and dental health because it is, if you take 1 to 2 petals also, it freshens your mouth. So it's my own, you know, experience that I also take. Treatment of eczema. So it is very, very good for skin. Reduces stress and fatigue. So it helps us to be relaxed. You know, you get rid of the fatigueness. So tulsi for infections, any kind of infections, and also hence we combated COVID, that is infectious disease, right? With the help of kada, which included one of the ingredient was tulsi. Tulsi for fever and the common cold. So as already been mentioned, tulsi for respiratory problem, tulsi for diabetes, tulsi for kidneys, tulsi for heart disease, skin, hair, weight loss also. So here, anybody who is suffering with, weight problem and all, you can always include tulsi or tulsi water early in the morning. Tulsi for eyes. Tulsi is very good for eyes too. So these days, even I wear specs post-COVID because of vaccine. I don't know, suddenly I lost my 6x6 eyesight, and I am not able to see the, I'm not able to read, without having to wear the specs. So tulsi for eyes. Tulsi prevents premature aging. So it is anti-aging also. Tulsi to quit smoking. Oh, tulsi helps us in quitting the smoking also. So you don't, I think it reduces your urges. So all the ladies, you can, if your husband is not able to quit smoking, so you can always give him a glass of tulsi water to help him combat the problem. Medical use of tulsi, properties and all that I have already explained. So tulsi does a lot of, good thing to our health, our mental health, our social health, our physical health, emotional health. That means it helps in all the aspects of our life, and it is the biggest boon in the modern world is combating because of our, what do I say, adulterated food eating habits, adulterated food, because of our fast food, what do I say, fast food, this is era of fast food, yeah. So because of our quick fix, food, all that has ruined our every part of the body and the whole body system. So tulsi is going to be beneficial to combat against cancer. That is a big boon to the whole world. So now getting back, after having discussed all this, getting back to the story is sustainable living. Sustainable living is only, last time I have submitted a paper for Springer publication on urbanization, right? So as urbanization and sustainable living. So I had to submit a chapter. So then I got to read many papers and, books and all. So there I was just reading, so while reading the urbanization, I came to the conclusion that the answer to all these problems across the world in this globe is going back to our root, digging into our soil, and going for natural farming, eating farm-based food, and eating right food, natural food, eating seasonal fruits, not something that is imported from outside. We don't have to be healthy. We don't have to eat olive oil. We can always go in for sunflower oil that is indigenous in nature, because UP has a lot of sunflower, farming and all that. But it has to be devoid of pesticides, harmful chemicals and all. So let us all vouch today that we would use, if we have farmland, we would only use compost. We would only use natural, natural fertilizer, and we would eat only indigenous food, and that is going to give us complete health. When I'm saying complete health, that means I'm including not only physical health, our social health, our emotional health, our mental health, because many researchers has found very recently that food has direct connection with the mental health. It has direct connection with the emotional health. If we eat right, our emotion, our mental health, our social health, our spiritual health is, all this aspect of health is so tightly connected, and the base is the food. Food is supposed to be, the cooking food is a ritual still in my house. It is like we start preparing, our preparation starts at 4 o'clock. So every one of us, no matter how much we have achieved, how much work, hard work we are putting into our work and all, we have to ponder, sit and think that all this hard work is leading us to where? And rightly being taught by our father of the nation that the answer to all the problem is sustainable living. And sustainable living comes with rurality. We have to now popularize, we have to advocate for being rural in nature. And our country, when I was a child and I started reading geography book, all the social sciences book, NCERT book, CBSE, I belong to CBSE. So there we used to have, the country is still poor because 75% of the population still thrive in rural areas. Why our rural area has to be poverty stricken? And that's for the reason today the government has started, popularizing or pressing on the MSME, that means micro, macro level, micro to macro level startups and all. And that is indigenous in nature. Anything you can do, just come up with indigenous varieties. And, very recently I was just watching MSME, some videos and all. So there I could see a girl in Manipur. Manipur has this silkworm, so she has started breeding and all, and she started doing it for commercial purpose. She's exporting it to UK, USA and all. And even this lotus flower, stem has some kind of fiber which is of silk, which is silky in nature. It can have some property to convert it into yarn, silk yarn. So she started doing that, and she's making it a macro level business. She started with a micro level. She used to make it for her mother. Then her aunts also liked it. Whatever she has brought it out from this lotus flower stem. And she started making for her aunts and all. They also liked it. And their aunts' friends also ordered. And then later on, she was so, and PM Modi identified, with the help of MSME and all. And it was talked about when we had a recent economic or some conclave and all. He had spoken about this lady in Manipur. And now Manipuris, a lot of ladies are coming together to, to come up with such yarn and all. So our answer to economic poverty, our answer to whatever we are trying to achieve through sustainable development goals, that is being kind of propagated, or that is being promoted by UN. Actually, the answer is our own indigenous varieties of crops, our own indigenous varieties of resources that we have it in our own country. And our own country was known as Sone Ka Chidiya, and not just like that, India was called Sone Ka Chidiya because it had everything from the, indigenous varieties of plantation to Kohinoor. We have it all. It's just that we've got to sit, think, and search, research, and then dig out what we require to bring a small micro level, startups, and that can become a huge business. And that's how a small business person, a lady from Manipur, her name is slipping off my mind. She's become a big name where our respected Prime Minister of India, PM Modi ji, called her name and then, explained about her, So that's not a small achievement. So that's what we've got to value our rural areas. That's very, very important. And we've, the answer to all the problems is going rural, going natural, growing indigenous. So I believe in indigeneity through indigenization. Thank you so much. Ravindra sir, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. So you gave a lot of insights on health and well-being and how tulsi plant and various other plantation of medicinal plants and herbs can improve the overall well-being of the individuals as well as the planet. Very well presented. Participants, if you have any queries, you can share. You can raise your hand, we can unmute you. Or you can unmute yourself and ask. Or you can use chat box. Share your queries, if any. If there are no queries, then we shall conclude it here. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for accepting and presenting on this wonderful occasion as part of 3 days, one Mahotsav. And we wish you all the success. for your future endeavors and look forward for more sessions in future. So friends, we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form. Kindly fill up all the details carefully. This data is used for generation of the certificates. So with this, we have come to end of our 3 days International One Mahotsav. And we thank all the participants, presenters, and we express our sincere gratitude to all the presenters and participants for joining us for this 3 days One Mahotsav and contributing to the international event. Hope you all have enjoyed all the sessions, and it is a need of the hour, as we have seen since 3 days. It's a high time if we to act upon, to engage into action. Otherwise, it may be too late for anything that can be done. So let's use this opportunity with whatever designated knowledge we have acquired in the last 3 days to have enough saplings or plants or trees that meets our requirements. At a personal level, if we all change, if we all contribute at our individual level, automatically the forest grows on its own. There will be more green cover. So let's all take pledge that we plant a sapling today or tomorrow. And every year, let's keep adding one more sapling. So thank you once again, everyone. We request everyone to quickly fill up the overall feedback form, which has been raised in the form of polls. The registration form for this conference has been shared in the chat box. Those who have joined directly can use the registration form to register. Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form. We are about to close the feedback form. Thank you everyone for joining us. You can download your certificates from the website. The website link also has been shared in the chat box. You can find it on the website after 2-3 days, subject to fulfillment of requirements and eligibility. So see you all tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Take care. Good night.